And we're live. Hey everyone, it's your boy Doc Williams, and today we're going to be talking about how you can be marketing, doing all sorts of things with AI. Now, this is going to be a longer episode, so there's going to be time stamps down below walking us through this, but this is to get you ready for 2025 and to utilize AI in the right way. We have a special guest star today. We're going to be hearing about his proclamation, what he's trying to do with his channel, and so first of all, who are we with today?
I'm Dustin Innovator. Thanks for having me, Doc. It's good to be back here. I have a ton of content that I make, whether it's blogging, podcasts, or videos. As you know, we talked about on the Brand Doctor show that we've been doing, there's this big list of content that I've been wanting to make for a while. I've gotten halfway through it over the last 4 years, but I'm kind of struggling to get the last little bit. And you have been giving me kind of some help about it, so we're going to try to see how much we can tackle today.
Exactly right. So today we're going to be utilizing a methodology of batching content. We're going to be using AI. We'll be talking about some of our favorite tools that we've been using. And if you have been thinking about using AI, but you feel overwhelmed, where to start with AI, what tools should you use? You've come to the right place. So we're going to be talking about our workflow, what Dustin's going to be doing to get things off. And I'm doing it right now without telling him before. I'm going to tell you what are some of my favorite AI tools and some of the things we're going to be talking about today. And then we're going to get right into working with Dustin and what he's got. So what I'm going to do is first share my screen, and then Dustin, I expect to hear more from you of what your favorite AI tools are, but I'm going to talk about a couple that I use right now. Number one, I use transcript.lol. That allows you to take your podcasts, your videos, and you can start turning them into blog posts, turning them into summaries. I do this with my own content, but I also do this with my client stuff as well. So that's been a really big help. Also, too, this is something, Dustin, have you ever heard of something called Granola?
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm going to show you. This is my other favorite app taking, and now this has really changed my workflow when creating content and everything like that. It's free to use up to like 25 meetings, but I love that not only does it record all of my meetings, but it also summarizes and it tells me, it gives me so much more context. If you want, and if people want to see this in the chat, I can show you a summary of like how I've been using it. But basically, I will give myself some notes, but then it will fill in the rest of the notes with AI and what I've been talking about. Super helpful. And then I take this and I just copy and paste it and just make it a blog post. The thing that stands out with this is I've seen the Zoom summary and other summaries before. This one sounds like a human. It sounds like the cadence and what I like. The Zoom one, I just feel like there's a lot of errors, and I don't feel like how it sounds and everything like that.
Oh, but it's Mac only, Doc.
Oh, you mean so it's a great thing? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Oh, wait a minute. I see something in the chat that you're bringing up. First of all, we got to say hello to everyone in the chat
Hi,
as
Erica.
well. Erica's doing great. Let me bring over my sound effects for a moment.
Alton.
Awesome. Hold on. Thank you so much, Erica, for being here. And also, Alden, thank you so much. Let us know what you're working on and what you're using. And Erica was talking about favorite transcript creator is Crisp. Interesting. Okay. Also, T, do you want me to bring up the link that you just sent me to?
So this one I just recently discovered. Feel free to do it. It's called Butter, and it's supposed to be kind of like a webinar collaborative tool where you can do like workshops with people. It's like all this whiteboarding. I don't know. I've been seeing some other really interesting creators talking about it recently, and so I need to play with it at some point. But it definitely seems interesting to interact with your audience.
I've used it for about a year and a half, and it was a lifetime deal on AppSumo for a bit.
Oh, okay, cool.
I agree with you. It's really fun. It's entertaining. I don't do that many webinars, and so I feel like I'm underutilizing it. But
Time for us to do some webinars.
yeah, we might have to do that. So we're going to throw in some of the things that we're talking about in the chat right now. And as I'm doing that, tell the good people, what are you working on, and why are we here tonight? Talk a little bit more about what we're going to be building out.
So I'm still kind of confused as to what you have in plan tonight because you had a pretty devilish smile when you told me about it.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I've complained to you a number of times is that I have a lot of content ideas that I want to write about. Most of them are just basically one-liners that are just a headline. I've either dropped them into headline tools or created them using AI in the past, or created them myself based on keywords that I knew that people wanted. So I have a ton of ideas. I've made a lot of progress with a lot of these, but unless they're blog posts, I really haven't gone through some of the videos, haven't really gone through some of the podcasts. And you wanted to do a live stream where we're doing like a live recording of it. So that's kind of the deal. You're muted, buddy.
Was drinking a Red Bull, didn't want to interrupt anything. Thank you. Is this the right tool channel? Should we tell them to go here? What website should they go to see this and hear about what you're doing?
So this is probably the most prudent one right now. This PolyTools is the creator toolkit that I created for people to actually find the right tools for them, whether it's podcasting or creating a blog or finding the right repurposing tool. In fact, I actually made it because of the knowledge management task, one right there, the first one on the left, 106 items. Basically, I found that there was no website that had all of the different note-taking, project management, task management, and more importantly, knowledge management tools, as well as the content repurposing category as well. And so between those two categories, I really wanted to share with the world all the cool different tools I found. You know me, Duck. I like sharing tools. I know you do too. When I first showed this to you, it was like catnip for you.
Oh yeah. It's a problem. It's a problem. That's why I don't go to this website anymore. It's too many tools that I like and experiment with. That's exactly right. Okay. So would you be willing to either show people like what kind of content pieces are you trying to create for next year? Can you share your screen or just talk about the subjects? What are you trying to do?
I think let's talk about it because sharing the screen won't really do much because all I have is the one line there. But
Cool.
Right now on my channels, I have one video going out a week because I batch recorded a whole bunch a little while back. And I have one going out to the end of December for the PolyTools channel and the end of January for the other channel. And because of that, I have all these ideas that I still want to get done. And I'm debating whether or not I want to double up and just post 3 a week or 2 a week, or if I'm just going to extend the batching and just let it schedule out ahead of time. Either way, the point is I want to make content to get through this list of ideas because I have a whole bunch of ideas that I've been sitting on for a while. Some of the ones that I have to kind of wait till the right moment, which is kind of, I know, not what you want to hear, but yeah.
I'm not hearing it. We're going to talk about that later on, but continue. Mm-hmm.
Well, the first one for the PolyTools channel is this creator equation I came up with, and it's a matter of strategy and automation and execution. Those are the 3 categories when it comes to success as a content creator, and how do you go about doing that? The next topic I wanted to create content on is what I've learned from countless social media management tools or schedulers. I've looked at all 100 tools on the market over the last 12 years, honestly, at this point. I started blogging back in 2012, and I started looking at social media schedulers even back then. And so I've been in this world for a long time, even if I wasn't super active over the 2010s in the middle of it. I've been looking at social media tools for a long time, and there's been a lot of issues and good things that I've seen. So I just wanted to make a video based on that. The next one is what is knowledge management, which is, I guess I doubled up on that. Knowledge management is the process of organizing all your notes and data, and in this case, content production. And that's what my main channel is about, Poly Innovator, knowledge management for polymaths. And I just wanted to have a basic SEO video, like what is knowledge management? What can I just do to explain it? And then the next one is more specific to that niche, knowledge management for polymaths, kind of going a little bit deeper into that niche. Finally, I started the Poly Innovator channel around this do-it-yourself degree, and I have a video idea that I wanted to do, why you need a modular degree. And so that's the 5 or 6 ideas that I had listed out here.
Okay. Love it. So as we're talking about this, Erica's, by the way, is talking about strategy, automation, execution are a few of my favorite things. We love it. And that's why I'm glad that you're hanging out here. So what we're talking about here, and the reason why we're live streaming, is to show you if you're stuck or you feel overwhelmed with creating content or what should you be doing, you can be live streaming like this, and then you can chop up your content and then be able to split it and do it a bunch of different ways. So we're showing you in a real-time scenario what we're going to be using. As Dustin's talking, I'm already using Granola right now as we're talking about this, because this is going to be tons of content to break up, to make blogs, all of these things. And so it's just another way to think about it. Instead of just having a private conversation where someone's like, oh, we should have recorded a podcast or we should have done that. Yeah, just start recording. Just start doing that. And Dustin has so many good ideas. And Dustin's been talking about how he needs to finish this up. Last week, I was like, enough of this. We're going to blitz this thing and we're going to finish this up and put a real dent into it before we go into 2025. So again, we're going to be going through it. Ask questions in the chat. We're going to be exploring that as well. And you can also see this too. If you wanted to use something like transcript, .lol, you could do it the same exact way with Granola, whatever you want to do. So yeah, we're going to get started in a second. What were you thinking?
Too, by the way.
Say it again.
Opus Clip. Definitely should shout that out in this case, considering what we're doing.
Yeah, you're right. Could you talk about Opus, what it is?
I can talk about Opus because, again, like with the social media management tools, I've been in the space for a long time. I have always wanted to really repurpose my content quite a bit. And so over the last 4 years, I've looked at all these different repurposing tools, and most of them had too much complexity, too many steps to complete the job, and I was frustrated by that. So I never actually ended up using them because it took too many steps to get it done. Opus Clip came out last year, and as you know, I have like 170 interviews. Around that time, I had 130, and so I had hours and hours and hours and hours of content that I needed to repurpose and market. I wasn't marketing my show. Opus came out of the woodwork. I dropped my videos into there and got back 2,000 usable clips using this tool. And so I fell in love with it. And it's one of those things where we are talking about repurposing, and what we're doing today is repurposing this live stream into pillar pieces of the content. You're helping me try to make videos and blog posts and stuff like that. However, what people can obviously do is turn this into a strategy where once a week you do a live stream, you cut out 3 highlights from it that are, you know, long form videos, 15 minutes each, but then you can use the entire live stream to create clips. You can transcribe it into a blog post, maybe even multiple blog posts. You cut out the audio from the videos and turn it into a podcast. You start making clips using Opus Clip. You even take the quotes from the transcript and turn them into tweets. Then you can take those tweets and turn them into images. And so there's a lot of different ways you can repurpose a long form video like this.
I love it. So all good things, and we're going to start right now into this. So let's talk about the first piece of content. What are we going to be talking about first? And we're going to go into it. All right. Say the name of the title again. What is this?
The Creator Equation.
All right. And what is this? Tell us about it.
The Creator Equation is something I came up with over the years I've created content because I've noticed that there was something that was lacking at some point in time. Whether you are just starting out or you've been doing it for a decade, one of these 3 things you are going to be lacking if you're not being successful right now. If you're looking at where your life is and you don't think you're quite at the success level that you want to be at, you're missing something in this equation. So let me go over it real quick. Strategy plus automation times execution. That equals success. If you don't have the right strategy, you're not going to put out content at the right amounts. You're not going to figure out where do I need to be, how many times do I need to post in those places, that kind of thing. If you don't have automation to help you, and not just talking about just AI, just even automation in general, like using New Link to schedule out your posts. Anytime I make a new YouTube video or anything like that, it goes out automatically across my socials, using automation to help you be consistent. And then finally, how hard are you working? And that is the execution factor. That's where a lot of creators actually fail, and that's where I've failed in the past. I've usually had a pretty good strategy since the beginning, but I wasn't always good at executing on that strategy. And then at some points, I'd need a new strategy, and I hadn't gone around redoing it, so I had to switch to that one. At some points, I couldn't find the right social media management tool, so I didn't have the right automation. So at some point, I'm not making excuses, I'm just explaining that these are the factors that created the issues I was facing. So understanding that equation and trying to make sure you can keep going, and yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, so tell me again, strategy plus automation?
Strategy plus automation times execution equals success.
I love it. And as Dustin is talking about this right here, I decided to use a tool, and I'm writing down notes right here of different things that I'm learning, right? So he was breaking this down, strategy plus automation times execution equals success. Where would you like to go here? Would you like to break down what strategy is, or how would you like to approach this next part?
I think that we should probably break it down to each one. I'm trying to think about how to go about that because that's why I haven't really made this video in the past. That's
Can
why I was
I help you?
sure. Let's go about that.
Okay, so let's talk about strategy. So what does strategy look like? Is it understanding what their goals are with their content? Is strategy understanding like articulating their goals? Could you talk about that a little bit?
In order to understand what your strategy is, you do have to understand what your goals are. Are you trying to become a YouTuber, a blogger, or a podcaster? When you are creating content, you start off with one of these pillar types. Eventually, you might expand to the rest of them. And I think that you really should be doing all three at some point to some capacity, even if it's just repurposed from your other piece of the content. I like to do all three natively, but that's just what I feel like doing. So my strategy includes doing all three. Your strategy may be different, and that's okay. After that, you have to figure out, are you doing long form pieces of the content, short form pieces of the content, or are you doing live streams like we're doing now? And again, at some point, you'll end up probably doing all three. I'm still kind of nervous on live streams, but that's something I'm working on getting better and better on doing. I've been making long form content for a long time, then I moved to short form, then I moved to live. That has been my strategy. I started off with long so I can kind of get that SEO, get that knowledge management, thought leadership, stuff like that.
I love it. I love it.
Hey,
So
Tupper.
from what I'm hearing right now, yeah, I need to start. First of all, I need to learn how to spell. That would help a lot. Um, and then two, you were talking about okay, YouTuber. What do you say? Goal, podcaster, YouTuber, content creator. What was the third?
Blogger.
Blogger. Okay. And then you said pick a format, long form, short form, live streams. What about how do people even decide which category they should be in? Is it what they can create a certain type of content fast? Is it just tell
It's
me
what they
more
create.
about this?
It
Hmm?
is what they create naturally. And so you're not going to really know what you're going to be good at until you have done it. And so Roberto Blake talks about this a lot. You need to put in 100 reps. And I know that Gary Vee has said something similar to it too. Putting in 100 reps in that pillar piece that you're used to, whether it's making videos or writing blog posts or doing podcasts, whatever you feel is like the one you want to go for. If you want to become a YouTuber, then you have to start making YouTube videos. If you want to become a podcaster, you have to actually start talking into the mic. If you want to write, then write. I do suggest, this might be the polymathy side of things, that people should do all three in the beginning to figure out what they like. So if you know for a fact you want to do video or you're very confident in that, then maybe just do the first 100 reps and just go straight through it. However, if you are in a place of not really knowing where it's at, my strategy is to do 33 of each. You do 33 posts of video, 33 posts of written, 33 posts of audio, and you figure out which one do you enjoy making, then you stop the other two and focus on finishing 100 of the one that you like. Once you get to 100, then you can start expanding beyond that. That's usually when people start making shorts instead of long, or vice versa. If they're doing 100 live streams, they realize, oh, I need to market my stuff more. So you start making TikToks or YouTube videos of your live streams. That's where repurposing kind of starts coming in, and that's where the strategy starts to level up more and more. At the beginning, it's just figuring out what you need. Then you expand to the other pillar types and the other formats, and then beyond that, you start to be more omni-channel. That is the
Uh,
strategy.
so if I'm hearing this correctly, you're saying start by creating 100 pieces of content. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
100 pieces of content. And then if I'm also hearing, because we're talking about AI and we're using all of these different clips, could I create a live stream and then just use something like Transcript and strip it and then create it into a blog post, create it into an audio experience for a podcast? Is that cheating, or is that something that you still think that's a way around this?
It is not cheating, no. In fact, it actually is a good idea. However, you're not really going to know what is a good podcast unless you have made it for the most part. I started doing that in the past where I was making YouTube videos and then cutting out the audio into podcasts, and I still do that from time to time, especially for like interviews. We could do that right now with this. However, our tonality, the way we explain things, we're using visuals right now to describe what we're saying. But if we weren't articulating what those visuals look like, then the audio podcast is not going to be very good and no one's going to really want to listen to it, so you're not going to be able to follow along to the visuals that aren't there. And so when you're creating content, with the purpose of repurposing it into an audio cast, right? If you're creating video content with the purpose of that, you need to take that into account in order to make sure you are creating good video and good audio.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also too, I'm gonna do what do you call it? It just the flip side of that. If this is overwhelming to me anyway, if you're like, well, I want to just try podcasting, but you're like, I feel overwhelmed with what Dustin said. If you just strip the audio and just see if it's any traction or see what happens, but don't allow it to be such a thing that it's a blocker that you just don't do it just because you're like, well, I can't do something original in that format. That's the beauty of AI as well.
Well, even if you are live streaming and your point is to make an audio cast, then your mindset is of making an audio cast from the get-go anyways. You're just live streaming in order to do it like we are right now. That's okay. I'm just saying you just want to make sure that the actual audio and the things you're describing is very effective when people are listening in.
I love it. Erica says, from weekly peer group meetings, I get a LinkedIn newsletter, an email, a Medium blog post, and a LinkedIn company page post. Also video and audio clips. I love it. I love it. Great stuff, Erica. By the way, drop the links. What are you using? All of that kind of good stuff. Okay, so if we're hearing this, the first one is, let's back up. So strategy, looking at what is your goal? Do you want to be a YouTuber, podcaster, or blogger? You're going to look at a form. What would you like to do? The type of content, long form, short form, live streams. And then you're going to create 100 pieces of content. Is that all wrapped up in the strategy? Did we miss anything or
I
more
just want
things?
to go back over the levels one last time. I'm still thinking in the case of a beginner. If you are just getting started out, you're going to be kind of a little bit nervous about this. And that's why the 100 reps is so key, because you're not going to know what you're doing right or wrong until you've actually done the reps. Someone can tell you, but that's after you've already done it. And so you got to really think about it in the big picture. The 100 reps is not that much. It really isn't. And that's going to take time. I don't care if it takes you 100 days or 10 years to do 100 reps. That's okay as long as you get around doing them. The reason why I explained it in this way is because of the empathy. I know how hard it is. I didn't like being on camera when I first started doing videos. In fact, I was really nervous about looking into the camera. I couldn't do it without stuttering very much. Like now I'm looking into the iris of the camera to make sure it looks like I'm looking at the guest or the person watching this video. And now I'm using hand gestures. I feel comfortable. Even on live streams, like I said earlier, I'm still kind of nervous about doing them because I'm just not used to it. But now I've had maybe 18 live streams under my belt. I'm getting more and more comfortable. After 100 live streams, I'm not going to have any more issues. So I started out blogging, then I did podcasting, and then I did video. And then I did short form video. And so I actually did that same trajectory that I've been talking about. I just really was trying to speed up the process for myself, and I figured other people would want to do that too.
I love it. With the 100 pieces of content, do you have a way for them to just get started right now? Is it them to pick, hey, write out on a piece of paper what you are, write down what you're going to be doing? How do you get them as a beginner to get started fast?
I talk a lot about some of that in the other videos I make when it comes to like how do you get started as a content creator. The creator equation video that we're working on right now, that's really just meant to show you what is the way to success. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to kind of get started with that. The first thing is make 5 pieces of content. That way you start off with a little bit of a pool, and you could post 3 at first, then schedule out 2 of them so you have a little bit of buffer. And once you do that, then you have basically the beginning that you needed. You pick written audio video, make 5 pieces of content. That's your start.
Love it. All right. Should we move on into automation? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So tell me about, first of all, what is automation? If someone's never heard of it, what is automation, and what is it part of this creation process?
You can think of automation as having little helpers to get the job done. We've talked about this on the other calls we've done, where Gary Vee has a whole content team behind him. And so yes, he's able to put out a ton of content, but he has people behind him that are able to help him. But he also uses tools too. And whenever he always spouted off on the rooftop saying you need to be making 100 pieces of content a day, people were like, oh, how do I do, like, oh shit, I can't do that. That's too much. It's too much. I realized the real question is, how do you do it? And using automation tools is the key to doing that effectively as a solo creator. So I used Newlink, by the way, which has basically the strongest automation sorry, I use Newlink, which has the strongest automations out there when it comes to social or RSS, that kind of thing. I really wanted to have, anytime I make a new YouTube video, podcast, or blog post, that my content's automatically distributed to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, etc. And I just wanted to have a simple tweet like, hey, here's a new video from my channel, go check it out. And then from there, I'll actually work on making like more marketing assets, making pictures or clips, stuff that actually draw attention to it. But people might just want to know you have something new, and so that just kind of covers the basis of it. Actually, I want to go on a little bit of a tangent here, because one of my fantasies when it comes to strategy and automation originated from the original Polytool strategy, where if you make a new piece of content, like a YouTube video, what's up, Clarity? When I wanted to make a YouTube video, I wanted to be able to post it the day of, like post a tweet about it the day of, maybe in the morning, then the next day, the evening, so I get both times of day, and then a week later, then a month later, then 6 months later, then a year later. So every piece of content has basically a year life cycle, so people can come back to it. Because usually most of this content you and I make are relatively evergreen. So I wanted to bring people up to that, even if they didn't originally see it. Because if you're on Twitter, people aren't going to be seeing your tweets. So you really wanted to make sure you're taking care of the audience that on the other side of the world kind of thing.
I love
So
it.
having automation tools helps with that.
I love it. I love it. First of all, yeah, exactly right. Clarity, thank you so much for joining us today and stopping by and everything like that. Also, too, Erica was talking about love, and I'm addicted to automation. That's wonderful. Could you drop some of the links of some of the things you mentioned? You were saying a new link automation. Yes. Could you drop that in the chat, and we'll add that. Also, too, Erica was talking about she loves automation. She says, I'm using Content Fries, YouTube playlists, Glasp, and Missing Letter.
Okay, let's talk on that a little bit. So Content Fries, I was talking to the founder of that tool, and he was actually doing some really interesting stuff. He was basically doing what we talked about earlier. Can you bring that back up, actually?
Yeah, sure.
Her little chat. So Content Fries, the guy who made it was doing these live streams that he then was using his own tool to chop up into clips and chop up into different, infographics, stuff like that. YouTube playlists, I definitely agree. I like playing around with that. If I make a mega post, like a blockbuster post on my blog, I'll make a YouTube playlist of the videos that I share in that list as well. So that way people want to read what I'm talking about or watch the videos that I'm referring to, they have the option of watching it all on a list. Glasp, shout out to them. It's a really cool team I've talked to. I've actually went on their show too. Glasp is a really interesting knowledge management tool that is web-based, but it helps you keep track of all the articles and highlights that you're doing and have it shared with other people. So it's very social learning. I think that's really cool. Glasp.co. And then finally, Erica brings up Missing Letter. And that was one of the tools that, while not my favorite, it is a strong tool when it comes to that strategy I mentioned before. So many tools could not do that. In fact, I don't think really most tools, even now, could do that strategy the day of, day later, week later, month later, that kind of thing. That interesting strategy I mentioned. But Missing Letter was one of the few ones that could. CoSchedule is another one that could do it as well. But Missing Letter also had a couple lifetime deals, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm dropping these different tools in the chat right now to check them out. Great stuff. And also, Dustin, do you have on your channel those conversations with the different creators? Were they all cataloged? Yeah. Tell me more.
What conversations?
You were mentioning talking to some of the teams for some of these tools. Have they been on your channel yet, or tell us more?
So I went on their channel for that conversation. However, on the Poly Innovator channel, which is my personal brand, I do have a playlist. Speaking of playlists, playing around with them, I have a playlist of all the shows that I've been on. So I'll be adding this video to that playlist after it's done too. And so anytime I've been on a live stream or a YouTube podcast, then I add that to that playlist so people can watch my guest appearances.
Great stuff. We'll share that to make sure that they see all of your guest starring appearances and what you're talking about. That is great. So I'm bringing it back. Where is that? I have way too many tabs now. Way too many tabs. Okay. So if we're looking at automation, if we're breaking it down, it would be having helpers, right? And the helpers are helping you cut out the manual tasks and make them automated, for another term. You're just making it go automatically without any help. So examples of that, you're saying scheduling your content,
Another one
Is
would
it
be Opus Clip, for example, being able to toss one of these long form videos and make a whole bunch of clips from it. Because what I've noticed is that most of these repurposing tools, whether it's Content Fries or Opus Clip, Recast Studio, Shopcast, all these tools that have been around for a hot minute now, a lot of them will give you about 80% usage rate. I would almost say 85 with Opus at this point because they've refined their model so much. But a lot of them would only give you like a dozen clips for an hour-long video, which is not very much considering how much content's actually there, whereas Opus would give you about 30. And so it's one of those things where that's a huge difference when it comes to, if it's still 80% usage rate, but you get like double the amount of clips, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, Eric,
Okay,
I don't know where I got that idea, but I remember getting it from another personal brand expert earlier on.
that's great. Okay, so we have that also too. I'm dropping all the shows that Dustin's been on. You'll see that in a clip down below to make sure that you check out what he's doing and all those things. Support, like, and subscribe. You already know this.
Let me mention another thing when it comes to automation. And this kind of goes into a strategy a little bit, like you're planning your strategy, but you're using automation to remind yourself. So I use Obsidian for my knowledge management, but I also used Notion in the past. And these tools allow you to organize your ideas and structure. So right now I'm looking at Obsidian with the ideas that we're talking about. And the idea, I would put it under automation probably.
You want it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I need a way to plan out ahead and automate the process. So I don't have to go back and figure out what do I need to do today. And have reminders like, hey, now it's time to do this piece of content. So every day on the first of the month, I have a vlog that goes out and I have reminders on my phone. Hey, today's the first. Let's go ahead and do that piece of content. And so planning out your content ahead of time using tools like Notion.
Gotcha. I love Notion as well. So are you using Obsidian or you switch back to Notion, or it depends on the
I'm
day?
using Obsidian.
Okay. I gotcha. No.
What's really kind of interesting is that it's kind of a recent development. I went back to using the projects plugin in Obsidian, which allows me to create a database like Notion's database. It's not as, I guess you could say, intuitive in a way, but it's still as powerful. And so it allows me to still kind of plan out using a calendar. And that was the big thing with Notion. I was able to create a calendar that I could then plan out the content ahead of time.
I love it. Okay, and we just dropped in the chat Obsidian as well. Look, you're getting tools galore. Remember, breathe. You don't have to use all of them. We're just showing you examples. Use something that will work and for you to stay on track. So if we're going out for a second, we've talked about, yes.
Actually, let's talk about automation just a little bit longer, because automation isn't just using tools and AI. It's also using virtual assistants too. If you have the capacity or money to be able to afford that, if your business is growing, having people do the scheduling for you and just doing it manually rather than using a scheduling tool could theoretically increase views depending on your region and stuff like that. And then on top of that, being able to use people to come up with ideas and soundboard and keep you accountable, stuff like that. I think that's a great way to also think about automation.
I love
Delegating.
That.
Yeah.
Delegation. Love it. In another video, we're going to talk about AI agents and all of those things. But this is all good things here for automation. Okay, so having helpers, we looked at planning out your content using something like Notion or Obsidian or somewhere where you can really save that knowledge or that information so you don't feel overwhelmed. Scheduling content, restructuring content, and AI or virtual assistants. Okay, so now that we have strategy plus automation times execution, tell me about the execution portion.
So I kind of want to use the plan your content idea this all the way across. The strategy is that you come up with how often do you want to make content. The automation is using tools like Notion to keep yourself accountable and making sure you have an idea of when that content goes out. But using tools like Notion to help you with execution. That way you actually have, your brain can kind of just dump the ideas. You don't have to worry about due dates because it's already going to be doing it. Here's the deal. Due dates, I don't mean DUE, I mean DO. When are you going to do the actual piece of content? And that's where the execution comes into factor. When you're creating content, you're planning it out, You have to actually go ahead and do it. And I found myself plenty of days where I would be like, I don't have enough energy for it, or my day flew by and now I don't have time to make content. And so what I ended up having to do is using Notion's calendar, drag every piece of content over to the next day. That way I can still keep the same order, but not have to worry about planning it out again. And so it really comes down to, can you work? Can you put in the effort? Can you stay up late and work on it? Depending if you have a 9 to 5, if you have kids, stuff that keeps you busy away from your content. That is the differentiating factor between you and the other person next to you. Someone who has a bad strategy, uses automation, is executing way harder than you, is probably still going to be a little bit farther ahead than you, even though you have a better strategy. If you're not executing on that strategy, it doesn't really matter how good it is.
I love it. I love it. So you're talking about just do. The execution is just doing the work. But they might say also, but I'm working all the time. What do you mean do? Like, do I have to do like 5 minutes? How do I even get any of that action to get started? Could you give
That is really
give
up
more
to
detail?
you, because depending on how much time you're able to put forth is how much time you're going to be able to execute. And then there's also the quality of the execution as well. If you're tired and you're not drinking enough caffeine to do it, your execution is not going to be that great. If you are making sure that you are actually putting in the effort to do it, then you don't have to necessarily worry about it as much. I'm just trying to say execution is the multiplier. It is the variable that really only you can change. New tools can come out that can make the automation easier. When Opus came out, it made my automation way easier. But before that, I couldn't really do it. So for a while there, I had the strategy, but I didn't have the tools for automation to really get that next step of the process. So there was plenty of times where I was executing on that strategy, but I wasn't able to get the content that we're literally working on right now out. And while that's kind of an excuse, it is true. There's also distractions. So I was doing other things like doing interviews or doing my jobs to pay the bills that prevented me from making content. So I wasn't executing on the content. So there's always going to be things that come up, but you have to find time. Stop watching Netflix 3 hours a week or something like that, and maybe shorten your exercise. If you're doing an hour, do 45 minutes of exercise instead of an hour. Just work out harder. Then use that 15 minutes to create a little quick video on TikTok, something like that.
I
There's
love it.
always time that you can find.
I love it. And this is why when we were talking about it, and the whole purpose of this was we're just going to do it. We're going to have these videos. We're going to go out and show people what we do, creative ways, and take what you like and incorporate it what works for you. That's all.
Let's pull up Erica's comment real quick here, because that's something that's not related to the video that we're working on, but I wanted to talk on it.
Is it the very last one or let's see.
So this is exactly why I had a hard time with social media management tools. Missing letters is great for creating a campaign. It is not great for adding posts to that campaign. It's all right. It has a pretty good interface. But like I said with Opus Clip, I generated over 2,000 usable clips. That was 80%. So it probably came up with closer to like almost 3,000 clips. I basically cut out 20% of them. And what I found was there was no tool on the market that could do bulk upload when it came to doing this. And for a while there, I was using Publer, but Publer ended up breaking a lot, and it wasn't really the greatest tool, so I don't even want to give a link out because it wasn't really that worth it. And then I was using New Link, which is what I use for my automations, but they got rid of their bulk upload for a while. And it's still pretty, I still end up using New Link for my social media posts now because I can just do 12 at a time, and that's not a big deal. It's very quick. Like I mentioned before, having less steps to do the job. New Link is probably the easiest besides like Buffer. And then Buffer we can definitely add to the chat because that's pretty decent as well. What I will shout out is RecurPost. They actually built out a bulk upload function for me, multi-upload if you will, because all these other tools use the CSV method, using spreadsheets to do it. That's tedious, it adds way too many steps, it doesn't really work when you have 300 video clips like Erica's saying there. And so RecurPost was the way I was able to get through my last big sprint of posting.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Also, too, Erica says, stop watching Netflix and exercise. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Love it. So this has been really good. So if we
And
go
that's the first
back,
video right there.
first video right there. And for me, we were talking about this new tool. I saw another streamer use this. I love drawing. I love writing notes like this. And so this is what helps me stay engaged. And when Dustin and other guests this is really good information, I just love drawing it out and having notes for myself. I think I'm going to just share these notes. Maybe can I share these?
Yeah.
Let's see. Copy
So
them. Yeah.
one thing to mention to the audience here too is that I use Obsidian, and the reason why you found this tool is because the person I was talking about was using Excalidraw inside of Obsidian, and it's a way to plug in. You can add to it. I actually use the Canvas function, which allows me to make a mind map within Obsidian. So that way, if you want to come up with an idea for a video or something like that. In fact, why don't I just share that real quick? I'll just show it what it looks like. So let me share my screen. So one of my channels is about knowledge management. And so I wanted to create a visual aid for my video that I was making. And so this is the series. Maybe we can make this into a video too. I'm not sure, but is it sharing? All right.
There we go.
So I created a mind map of the framework for my system. So this is the system I created on the knowledge management channel, where you have the yearly layer, the quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily. I go over this much more in depth on that channel itself, but I basically use this function, this Canvas function, to create a visual aid for my video. So as I'm going through it, I can basically talk about the points within this layer of it. I thought that was kind of interesting to share.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. So one subject down, next one to go. What are we going to be talking about next?
Part of the reason why I haven't worked on this next one, Doc, is because I don't want to ruffle feathers, but I think it's probably fine. I already mentioned some of it in the last little bit, in the last video. Let me copy it over to you so you can see it.
Wait, just put it in the chat before you say it.
No, it's fine. What I've learned from using countless social media schedulers.
How is this controversial? You know what? Don't even get me started.
It's controversial because I've worked with some of these tools in the past.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So let me bring it up for a second.
Now this one, I didn't really have a particular outline of what I wanted to do for it, which is why it's been sitting in my ideas list. So this is thank you, by the way, Erica. Thanks for the mind map comment. I don't know exactly how I want to go about this video. I didn't know what the purpose was for the audience. That's what I really wanted to find. What is that key thing that they're going to get out of it?
Okay. All right, we can do that. What I've learned from using countless social media schedulers. Okay, so why do people need to know about this? Why should they care?
I wanted to create this video because I created a lot of content over the years, and I needed ways of getting that content out to my audience. You use social media scheduling tools to do that. However, if that tool has too many steps, like I said before, to get the job done, it makes it harder on you as a creator, and you end up spending more time than just publishing it yourself natively. And so what I wanted to do was find the right tool for two different purposes. There was two things that I wanted, one of which was automations, being able to take my YouTube video and automatically tweet it out, Facebook post it out, LinkedIn post it out, Threads, etc., or Pinterest as well. Or, for example, I wanted to take my Instagram picture and automatically repurpose it to Pinterest because I might as well. The other use case was doing bulk upload for short form videos. I created over 2,000 clips. I wanted a way to get those clips out without having me to manually schedule every single one across TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. I didn't do Facebook Reels, but now I'm going to do that as well. And now LinkedIn's also doing clips, so that's another channel to worry about. But I was also doing Pinterest, and Pinterest was actually surprisingly helpful. So it was automation for, let's say RSS automation.
Okay.
That was the main thing. It was RSS automation and bulk upload for short form videos, or bulk upload in general, because there's also the idea of like, hey, I want to be consistent on these written platforms. Let me come up with an idea for every single day for the next year, so that way I have one post going out every day, or having one post a week on Instagram for the next 52 weeks. And that way you have a baseline of consistency. That was the point of using social media schedulers, just having that layer of consistency. Some people say that using schedulers impacts your reach. Maybe it does, 15%, but I'd rather have the convenience of scheduling things out than worry about having to get it out and focus my attention away from making more content.
Gotcha. So RSS automation, bulk upload of content. There was a third one that I missed.
I think that's mainly it. It's like RSS automation and bulk upload for.
Oh yeah. And you kind of already answered like why they should be doing this. It's to give a baseline of consistency. Is that what you said?
Baseline of consistency, but also making it easier for you to be more omni-channel. Omni-channel is the word that I really cling to when it comes to that Gary Vee's advice, posting 100 times a day. When he's talking about posting 100 times a day, he's not talking about making 100 videos. You make maybe 1 or 2 videos and then you chop it up into clips. You make tweets out of it. You post a tweet of you sharing the link. Even just making one video and then posting one Facebook post, that's 2 pieces of content right there. And you make that same post on Threads, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on LinkedIn. Now you have 5 pieces of content. And so getting to 100 pieces a day becomes a lot easier when you're syndicating across multiple platforms. And that's why you use tools like this to make this omnipresent syndication.
Okay. So what's the next phase here? Are you going to tell us your tech stack to become omnipresent? Are you talking about pros and cons of which one you should pick? How would you like to approach this?
I think the idea behind this piece of content was I was trying to have a slight comparison of various different tools, or basically go over the history of the tools that I tried. So maybe that might be the next interesting thing. Like, here's the different tools that I've used over the last decade. And so back in the day, there wasn't very many out there. There was Hootsuite and Buffer, eventually later. There's Socialboo. Yeah, let's go to that category. In fact, I want to touch on it a little bit. Should be about halfway down, I think. Yeah, a little teal.
Can I search on this thing?
Yeah, it's right there. It's in the middle. Social media scheduling tools.
Social
Down.
media. Here?
Again?
Here,
Nope.
here.
There we go.
Got
Social media tools are more like analytics and stuff like that, whereas these are purely scheduling for the most part. Now,
All right.
I want to point out on this list, I only have about 65 out of the 100-ish tools that are on the market. The reason why is that some of them are basically dead in the water. They're not having any updates. They're not doing anything useful. If anything, they might even be dead. They don't even work anymore. And they might have also some bad reputation with the social platforms. So there's also tools that I've experienced where, like, I don't want to say the name, but Vista Social, I don't want to give them any kind of attention at all because they were horrible to me. They gave me a horrible time. I got a lifetime deal to them. It was one of the only lifetime deals I've ever returned because they were just terrible, and they were like laughing in my face, and it was terrible. Again, I keep saying this. Socialboo, on the other hand, that's one in the middle right there. They actually had some really cool automations. Even before New Link, they had some of the more interesting automations out there. And so that's one thing I wanted to shout out there. There's obviously New Link, like I mentioned many times. There's Buffer. Buffer is one of the more main known ones out there. However, they've gotten really expensive. That's the issue with some of these older ones. Missing Letter, if you're not getting the lifetime deal, that's kind of expensive. One of the newer ones right there is FeedHive. And I don't remember the creator's name who made it, but he made it because he was frustrated by all of the lacking of features for a lot of these different tools. And Buffer, it's great, but you can only do 3 accounts on the free plan. If you want to do more than that, you have to pay like $6 per account per month, which adds up quickly. Hootsuite is another commonly used one, and I loathe it because it has a terrible interface. It's extremely expensive, and it really doesn't do anything better than anything else. There's a lot of tools on here that I can mention here. Content Studio.
Give me just your top 3 that you like using right now, though.
New Link, Recurpost, and Socialboo.
Okay, let's say Socialboo.
Which I think you already have there. Yeah.
Okay, New Link we have.
And Recurpost.
Recur. Is this thing in order? Like, is this alphabetical? What is this?
I'm using Ghost. Ghost didn't allow me to do alphabetical. I think it's chronological when I've added it to the site.
Okay, let me check. I remember Q. Oh, this is bringing me back. This is memory lane.
Q is interesting,
Content
but again,
Studio.
they haven't really. I think they're kind of floating in the middle of the water, not really doing anything else to it. Same for
Yeah,
like
I did.
Social and Hopper.
Social B I use a lot, but they've kind of moved over. And Social Camp. My God, I haven't thought about them in years.
Again, most of these haven't really added much to it. Later has been adding. Oh, I should probably remove Metricool. Let's shout out Metricool real quick in the negative. I've been hearing some nasty things about how they're on spam watches. They actually make your reach worse because of that. And they even I think got hacked at one point, something like that. I don't want to spout off nonsense if I don't know what I'm talking about, but Metricool, I've heard a lot of bad things about. Don't use them.
That is, where is Where is this thing? I'm trying to get the third one you mentioned.
Just type in Recurpost in the browser. It's fine.
All right.
Maybe I need to add it. Oh, I hope they're not watching. I thought I have it in there. That's crazy. It should be in there.
See, this is why we do this. This is why we do it. Okay, cool. It's no big deal. I mean, it happens. It's okay.
I'm
Now
not
you're
trying
gonna
to
add
make a
it.
video, but yeah.
Just re-record it. Just put it in, and just like do a screenshot of it that you did it. Yeah, it's fine. Okay,
Yeah, so
cool.
Recur Post also recently updated their UI. So for me, a tool has to have good UI because a good UI generally leads to good UX. If you have a good experience on that site, I think that helps out a lot when it comes to the tediousness of the task. So being able to get through, like, so New Link is my top favorite tool because it has the best UI and UX, and they also have the best automations. And the reason why is that that's what they've been working on for the last year, is making sure they have the best automations. I know that Social Boo's also been doing that too, so shout out to them. But right now, New Link is where I've been able to master my content strategy to be omnipresent.
All right. So could you just break down step by step these are your top three. Could you talk about what are the features you use to become omnipresent? Could you break that down for us?
Why don't I share my screen of New Link, and then we'll just go for, like, I think that probably is the most prudent. So collections, I don't think I'll be sharing anything private per se. Let me just duplicate this and move it over. 1 second.
No problem. So if you're just joining, we're looking at New Link, we're looking at Social Boo, and we're going to be looking at Recur Post. And this has to do with what Dustin has learned from using countless social media management systems. So let's go
Let's
into
dive
this.
into New Link here. So when it comes to my content strategies, I have my main Pauline Innovator brand. That is my personal brand. I have a YouTube and podcast and blog for it. And so I want to make sure that I have everything going on there. However, when you're making content for a long time, you're bound to start coming up with new ideas for a new series or even a new channel. And eventually that series might turn into a channel. So for example, I have Pauline Innovator Gaming right here. And so I started wanting to make gaming content. I knew that it wasn't a good fit to put on my main channel to do that. If I ever make music content down the line, that'll be the same thing. The Pally Tools started off on my main channel, then I realized they're competing for attention when it comes to SEO, and I was like, I need to give it its own place, its own home. And eventually I made the website for it as well. So what I'm saying is I have multiple different brands that I'm managing for myself. If you're a social media agency, I can definitely see that also being a very important time to like separate your different brands. So what I do here, this is all the different collections that I have. I have my main shorts, so this is like my Poly Innovator stuff, my gaming shorts, the Polytool shorts, and then my new short strategy. And the reason why I have 4 different ones is that I had different automations funneling into these different collections. And this new short strategy, I didn't want to use the same platforms as my main shorts because I'm still posting using this one. However, now that LinkedIn is pushing for short form videos and I never posted on Facebook and I want to repost on Pinterest, I thought that having this new short strategy would be useful. It has a separate collection. Let's go into the automations here a little bit. Anytime I make a new YouTube video on the Polytools channel, this automation is triggered. Same thing goes for the podcast on the Polytools or my regular podcast as well. The blogging website for gaming, the gaming YouTube channel, that cross post that I mentioned before, and then on top of that, my normal blog, or not normal blog, my main blog and my main YouTube channel. Each of these automations funnel into these collections, allowing it to just be automatic. Anytime I make a new post, it just automatically goes out, and that's really the main thing that I wanted to share with you all. Thank you.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Great stuff. Love the organization. I'm seeing that Erica is loving this. So this is really good. And thank you for sharing with us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good way of looking at how you structure your social media, why you're using it. For New Link, so they allow you to do RSS automation.
Yeah. In fact, I'll bring it back up actually, because one thing that they do pretty interesting is they keep adding more and more automations. And I think it's just super curious. Let me just look here. If I want to add an automation, look at all the different options. Oh, is it sharing?
I'm adding it right now.
Look at all the different options that you have when it comes to what automations you have on this platform. So auto import your YouTube videos, or if you're using WordPress, I use Ghost, and so that's somewhere around here as well. You have regular RSS feeds too. You can even do your Medium posts, Pinterest cross-posting against other different platforms. Instagram cross posting, like I mentioned before, all my Instagram pics now go to Pinterest as well. If you want to combine this with Make, so you need a little bit more advanced automation, you can use Make. I think Zapier's on here as too. Yeah, so you can really do a lot with this. And that's one thing. Yeah, Spotify too. Yeah, auto retweet, all these cool things that you can do with it.
I love it. So what we're going to do is we'll put a link down below, but that's some of the things to become omnipresent, to make sure that you really start scaling out your marketing. And no matter what you're doing, either if you're doing this for a client or for your own personal brand, Dustin, when I see all of these things, I also see that being a service that you could provide for different brands. If you're structured, you have a methodology of how you're going to be going about this to gain more attention for a brand. All of these things really help you to become really competent with social media management and also growth strategies as well. Dustin is putting his affiliate link in the chat that I will be adding. We support Dustin and all his endeavors and what he's doing, so we're going to be using his affiliate link. Make sure if you like this, support Dustin, sign up, subscribe to his channel. We've already put it down below, but we'll make sure we add this in the replay as well. If you're watching this on replay, #replay. And
comment down below to make sure we know you're here.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So we just covered number 2. Yeah. Would you like to say anything more before we go to the next point?
Yes, let's wrap it up, because I think that the idea behind this video is that I wanted to share what I learned from it. And these are the things that I wanted. Here's the tools that I used. However, what I've learned is that the tool needs to work for you. Someone may love Buffer because it's minimalist, but it's lacking any sort of automation really and that kind of thing, and it's expensive. And so for me, I can't afford to pay that price for it, and NewLink offers way more for the value in that same comparison of price. So figuring out what you need from a social media management tool is kind of the first step. Figuring out how much you can afford, maybe go for a lifetime deal. Although one thing I've learned pretty much the hard way is that every social media management tool that I've gotten on lifetime deals, I've had a bad experience with. Social Mako, Vista Social, that kind of thing. Both of them weren't good experiences. Social Mako even died out completely. It doesn't even work at all anymore. So you have to figure out what works for you. Try to figure out what tools you can afford and which features that you really need. And then do a comparison. So I would definitely go out of your way to make a Eisenhower matrix to compare with different tools and that kind of thing.
Is it a possibility, if you work for someone or if you are exchanging work, would you encourage them to also be able to have that software paid for in exchange for work? Have you ever done anything like that? Have you heard about that? Anything like this?
Yeah, so some companies will offer free membership if you're working with them, allowing you to use the tool when you're making content around it or just supporting the company. I'm an OpenScript brand partner, and so I get access to the tool because I work with the company and create content around it and help them basically achieve their goals.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Oh, the tool needs to work for you. Yeah. I'm like, all my Grammarly is like, you're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So I need to make sure I have all that. Okay, cool. So the tool needs to work for you. How much can you afford for the tools? Those are great points, and to consider what you're doing and how this can be sustainable. And I always say the same thing with you with lifetime deals. I just always say, I go in with expectations. It's a lifetime deal. Maybe I'm setting myself up for this, but I'm just like, I only expect so much. I'm delighted when it scales, but I'm like, this is also a lifetime deal.
That makes sense, yeah.
And I'm not going to update my Twitch picture, and going on from there. I'm not on Twitch that much. Anyway, that's not the point. Continue.
Consistency across platforms.
We will get to that eventually. Okay, I'm taking pictures with the beard. Give me like 2 weeks. I'll switch it across everything. And you notice I haven't changed Twitter. Anyway, next, what is the next subject we're going to go into? Make sure you put it in the chat so I can update the good people. And if you like this kind of stuff, if you think this is entertaining, please let us know. We'll
Especially
do more
since I'm
of
struggling
this.
Over here.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. I told you, you're not leaving until we finish this. So we're going to be fine. Anyway, I'm putting in the chat if people want to see the notes that I'm building out. But let's get into it.
What the next topic is for my other channel. So the first channel was about Poly Tools. We're talking about content creation, tools, content repurposing, different content creators, that kind of thing. My personal brand channel is Poly Innovator. on my shirt here. Poly Innovator is about being a polymath of innovation, innovating different areas of life, that kind of thing. A polymath is someone who is multi-expert in many different areas, as well as insatiably curious. And that's really what my channel is about. However, the other half of the DNA strand of the channel is knowledge management. And that is taking all your different ideas, note-taking, journaling, data, whatever you have, even just saving articles. Instead of using Gitpocket or bookmarks in your browser, you save it to this tool so that you have a more organized system to keep track of what you want to read, different topics and tags, stuff like that. So that's what knowledge management is about.
Okay, so what's the subject of this next video going to be?
That was the subject.
Why didn't you put it in the chat?
I did.
I need to add
I
this.
did.
Where? Hold on. Oh, yeah, you did. My bad.
What is knowledge management? First you're late with the link, now you're not looking at the chat. Come on, dog.
Let's not. Give me a break. It's a Sunday. Give me a break. Okay.
To all those who are watching, right? He says, I'm going to send you the link in 3 minutes. 20 minutes goes by and there's no link.
We're here. We're here.
Okay,
are we not?
Minutes, but still, yeah.
So what is knowledge management? Okay, so
let's break it down to this: the why, how, and what. That's why usually what I make with a lot of my blog posts, and I think it'll be helpful for something as ethereal as this video.
Okay.
Why is knowledge management important? Well, when you're creating a lot of content, for example, in my case, or if you are studying a PhD, whatever your endeavor is in life, your career, your hobbies, the things you want to put out into the world, there's things you need to do in order to organize them to create something. You have your input, and then you can make the output. Creating content for me was one of my major factors, but another one was self-education, self-directed learning. How do I organize my do-it-yourself degree? I started using tools like Airtable, Notion, Obsidian to start keeping track of my note-taking, my ideas so I can mind dump into it, organizing the templates that I want to use for my content, or even just really aligning myself with my own ikigai, my reason for being. These are all different topics that really fall into this system I created for knowledge management, but this is why I use knowledge management tools.
Now, for you, what is the standout one? Was it the modular degree? What was your main why when you started doing this?
It was twofold. It started off with just this self-education. I wanted to create my own DIY degree. I call it the modular degree now because it's modular. For people who are insatiably curious, like polymaths, your interests are going to change pretty rapidly. You need a tool that can keep up with your modular curiosity, if you will. And so I wanted to create a framework, and I needed tools to support that framework. And so being able to separate into different semesters or sprints or whatever taxonomy you want, you need a tool that can actually handle that level of change. And then the next thing was I had all this different content I wanted to create, whether it was videos and audios or blog posts, or even all three at once. I actually had a series where I made all three pillar types every episode, and that was something that I had to go out of my way to do, so I needed a robust system to keep track of it all, especially when you have a long list of ideas that we're going through right now.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Okay, awesome. Great stuff. Okay. So we looked at the why. It was two different things, creating a module degree and then wanted to create different types of content and tracking that.
So it was modular degree and then content production. Content
production. I like that.
That was my why. But for other people, it might be just success in life.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
if you look at every big successful person in the world, Steve Jobs, Leonardo da Vinci, Elon Musk, really, for the most part, they all have some sort of system that's keeping track. Maybe not Elon Musk, but like I know Da Vinci, for example, has his notebooks, and he had all his ideas, all these different plans, all the notes that he took. They were all in his notebooks. And if he had the tools that we have now, like Obsidian, he would be unstoppable.
Yeah, he would. Okay, cool. Do you want to go into your how?
So this is the video on what is knowledge management. How do you go about doing knowledge management? So it kind of breaks down, the way I like to think of it is like an umbrella. Knowledge management is the main piece, but then you have note-taking, you have task management, then you have project management. These all fall under the knowledge moniker. When you're keeping track of your tasks, whether it's learning, so your input, or you're creating, whether it's your journals or public content, that's your output, you have to keep track of the tasks you need. What am I reading this article today, or am I writing this script for a YouTube video tomorrow? These are things you have to keep track. These are tasks that you have to keep track of. When you're creating the system, you need a robust task management system that's holistic across the board. You need project management to understand here are the courses, podcasts, blog posts, audiobooks, whatever learning materials you want for your do-it-yourself degree. You have to have a system that keeps track of them all and organize them by tags or semesters, what have you. Same with the content production. You need to be able to keep track of, is this a video? Is this a blog post? Is it a podcast? Keeping those different databases separate, but also holistic at the same time. These are how you go about doing it.
I love it. I love it. So, having...
Note-taking as well. Hold on. Note-taking and journaling. So that's the other aspect behind it, is that you have to be able to take notes. You have to be able to write down your ideas and have a list. And more important than that, journaling. So what I've been really working on trying to get better at is the yearly notes, quarterly notes, monthly notes, weekly notes, and daily notes. Daily notes, or daily journal, is what most people kind of think of when they think of journaling. Every day, writing down what happened to you that day or what you're planning on doing that day and keeping track of that note. Weekly is planning that week ahead of time. What am I doing each day of this week? Monthly, I've taken a different approach to it, but essentially it's just planning out your month ahead. What goals do you want to achieve this month? That sort of thing. What projects are you going to be working on? A little bit more broad, a little bit more macro. Quarterly, I focused on alignment with quarter. Are my actions aligned with my virtues, my ikigai, and my 4 pillars? And that's what really knowledge management is all about, is really trying to align yourself towards what your knowledge is going towards. And then finally, your yearly layer is focusing on what happened last year and then what's going on next year.
Love it. Love it. Speed running this thing. Speed running it.
This video is not going to be too long.
I love it. Okay. And so we've got the how. I think that's a really good way of structuring it. By the way, Erica's talking about, wish I had your symptoms. This is the symptoms and organizing skills. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
People have hired me to organize their life, let alone house or anything like that. It's funny.
Now, let me ask you something. Have you been doing, what is that thing? It's a streamlined approach, like I think it's Japanese, where you're just
Kaizen? No.
that too, but no. For functional, basically, you're throwing out a lot of crap of people's houses, and you're like making it very streamlined, limited amount of
Minimalist?
stuff. Maybe that's what it is.
I think
It's
so.
this very specific woman that does it. So you can be hired as well. Drop the links down below for him to do Zoom consulting.
Yes. Let's pull up Erica's comment real quick here. So on the quarterly layer of my system that I created for knowledge management, I created this idea called the 4 pillars, which is a modern interpretation of a lot of ancient philosophy. Basically, just to keep it simple, body, mind, spirit, and emotions. These are the 4 areas of your life that you need to account for to make sure you have a healthy life. If your health is in decline because you're sick, your body pillar is going to suffer. Your mind pillar is going to be foggy. This is where you start to learn, which builds the mind pillar, you get that stimuli. You start exercising, take care of your health and your nutrition, you work up the body pillar. You start meditating and looking within, introspection, that's your spirituality pillar. You can also use kind of religion as a pathway to that too for some people. And then finally, the emotions pillar, basically your EQ, your emotional quotient. That is understanding yourself and others. And what I kind of like to add to it is like a gratitude journal as well. I think that helps with your emotions. Yeah.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, cool. Shall we go to the what?
I've kind of already explained the what, but I'm trying to think about how to go about it in this video. So this is probably
Just
where I
do
would have
it.
taken a break.
I don't care. Just
No,
do it.
I'm just talking out loud. We're here to live stream. They're here to see the challenge at hand, okay?
what is this? It says
Stop
the
trying
what.
to rush me, Doc.
I am though.
Don't rush the process.
What is knowledge management system? Why, how, and what?
So, just a little tangent here while I'm thinking about the what, okay? Here's why I did the why, how, and what. And shout out to Simon Sinek, because of his really old TED Talk at this point. He talks about the why, how, and what. And he talks about like Apple's marketing. They start with why. Like, this is why you want this new MacBook or whatever they were selling at the time, iPhone. And then here's how it works. Here's how the system and the technology works. And then here's what it is. It's an iPhone. It's what you use every day. Blah, 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 blah. And I found that framework to be really interesting when it comes to content. In fact, I would say at least half of my 600 plus blog posts that I've written has been written in the format of why, how, and what. What I normally do is actually have a little micro what at the top, just so people can understand what the video is actually about, kind of like a one sentence summary. And then I go into the why, which is the philosophy, then the how, which is usually the physical aspect of it, or how does it work, and then the what, which is the more kind of psychology aspect. So let's get into the psychology of knowledge management. Why would you go about doing it? Well, you want to organize your stuff. How do you do it? You use tools. The what is you have your note taking, you have your journals, your task management, your databases, any kind of data you can think of, all your folders on your computer, information architecture. That is what it is. That's all it is. And that's a lot of words. Some people might be hearing this like, what is this guy talking about? Information architecture is how you organize yourself in a digital presence. So we talked about minimalism earlier in this live stream. How I organize myself in real life is I'm minimalist. I have very little things. I have a lot of tech, but I have very little things. And so being able to organize your data, whether that is your personal or private or public, whatever it may be, professional even as well, and having a organized system. That is what knowledge management is. Yeah, that's it.
Love it. Would it be appropriate for the tracking, note-taking, journaling to be under the what? Or
Sure.
in both sections? I think
it's
it
good for
works. Yeah. I like what you were saying right there, Dan. I'm like, yeah, I really like that. I like that structure. That makes a lot of sense to me. Okay.
So how is the tool, what is the information architecture, and the why is your reason, really. Your reason for using knowledge management.
Mm-hmm. I
Thank
like
you,
it.
Doc.
Thank you. Look at that. 600 plus. Wow.
Yeah. I think
Love
I
it.
hit somewhere around, I'm like 637 right now, maybe 640. I don't remember exactly. I wrote one today and I could have sworn I saw 640, but I could be tripping.
I love it. I love it. See, this is good stuff. And of course, if you want the notes, just let me know, but it's going to be down below.
And
This
what
is
I
what
will
we
say
do.
too is I'll probably copy these notes and put them in the description of the videos when I post them.
I love it. I love it. Great stuff. Okay. What do we got next?
I don't know how to go about this video topic.
Put it in the chat just to make
I'm
sure
working
it's
on
PG.
it. Oh, it's fine. I don't do anything
Oh.
un-PG. I just think the complexity of it's going to be interesting because I already had a stumbling block when it comes to knowledge management. If you can't explain it simply, you don't know it well enough, well, I'm also burned out. No, I'm just kidding. I've been throwing a lot of salt today at Doc, guys. Don't mind me.
Oh, I know. I know. You should see the text message thread. It was not always positive, but he's here.
I was making a joke. There was that SpongeBob was like 1 hour later.
I'm talking about all of the things I hate you. Those were
Oh,
were also there.
I forgot about that. But yeah, it's like I love you, but I hate you at the same time. It was a very it canceled out. I said I love you, but I hate you. Again,
I'll
live
take it.
streams are something that's new to me, and I'm still getting used to it. So yeah.
You're doing a great job. I think people are enjoying it. I think this is super helpful. So tell us about this. What is this?
This is the DNA strand of my channel, Knowledge Management for Polymaths. Over the course of my content creator life, I've talked about both of these topics pretty equally. I started out doing my do-it-yourself degree and trying to create my own modular education, and so I created a framework for that. I needed tools to do it. I started off with Google Sheets, I moved on to Airtable, then Notion, then Obsidian, and I've tried a lot of other tools as well. In that process, I also started creating content, and I use those tools for that content production as well. And I wanted to organize my polymathic life. Do I call myself a polymath? I consider myself more of a proto-polymath. I'm on my way to becoming one. And I think that that's kind of what I really wanted to work towards. Some people might consider myself one, but I really wanted to have this idea that I'm on the journey to do it. And that's what my channel is about, the journey to polymathy. Here's the knowledge management tools that I use for polymaths. And so I wanted to create a framework that other people can use, and I called it the PIOS, the Poly Innovation Operating System, or Personal Innovation Operating System, whichever one you prefer. But the PIOS is a relatively simple framework that allows you to organize your polymathic life. People might be familiar with the Second Brain or the LifeOS monikers, but those are more geared towards, I would say, specialist rather than generalist. And if you're on the journey to polymathy, whether you're a jack of all trades or a generalist or multi-potentialite, you're on that journey towards polymathy, and eventually you'll reach there. But using this tool that I created, it'll allow you to be more effective on that journey.
All right. So now you're teasing this. What is this thing that you created? What is this PIOS? Where can we find this? All that stuff.
So I'll drop the link here for you. It is on my personal brand website. In fact, I think one of my featured posts as of time of this recording is about the PIOS in 2025. I was trying to create a post to get people on the right mindset. And so the PIOS is a system I created in order to organize my different layers of life. What I found myself struggling with, yeah, it's right there on the front there. Oh man, I actually, just a little tangent here. If you look over at the side at the menu, I went ahead and added different icons for each one, and it's not the tags, but everything else. And so, yeah, those are all new. I try to color code it too. This is neat. I like web design sometimes.
I love it. I love it.
So fun fact, we talked about repurposing earlier. Every single one of my articles you can actually listen to. So if you scroll down a little bit, not that far, it says listen to this article right there, and it allows you to listen at whatever speed you want. So if you want to listen to my article while you're walking your dog or something like that, you can. If you're visually impaired, you can listen to the article. I also made a podcast for this particular post, so technically there's two players, but they are different. The first one is actually the blog post itself, and the second one is a podcast that I made in addition to the blog post, so it's separate.
By the way, Eric is asking personal innovator operations system. Is that correct?
No, personal innovation operating system. So close to it. Yeah.
Tell me more about this with this article and everything like that. Should we deep dive, or is there anything, or is that should be a reference?
Why don't I go into it should be a reference. I'll just go into the canvas again and go back into this video. So I think I already made a video explaining what the PIOS is, but I kind of want to go back into it and get a different angle. Excuse me. I'm sharing my screen.
Oh, you are? Hold on a second. See, you know what? Sometimes you share it, then you shut it off.
Hey,
okay.
Hey, don't be coming at me like that. Doc, don't make me come over.
Ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There you go.
The first part of the first part of the Poly Innovation Operating System, the PIOS for short, is this idea of the yearly layer. So I'm still struggling at making sure I do my yearly notes effectively, right? I'm being honest about that. But that's the thing. I want to be upfront about it on this journey, because I know that I created this system, and if I still struggle with it, I know other people are too. And so that's why I'm working with people who are like using it as well. They either use my framework or use someone similar frameworks, and I'm trying to find the best route to it. And so collaboration and talking out loud, even if I'm failing at some points or succeeding at some points, allows for that improvement across the board. But the yearly layer, I think, is one of the most important ones that a lot of people still don't do nearly enough. This is essentially just every year, maybe on the second of the year, not the first, but the second, you know, have a day to recover after New Year's Eve, sleep in a little bit. But on the yearly layer, you allow yourself to plan the year ahead. Well, how do you know what you need to do a year ahead if you don't know what happened last year? You might have had the goal of working on 3 things last year, but let's say you only got 1 or 2 of them done. Well, that leftover third one needs to be your priority this coming year. And so by doing a review of the previous year, then you can plan out your quarters ahead of time of the next year coming forward. Let's talk about this right here. Phases. This is the unique thing that I brought up that most people don't talk about. This is because I'm multidisciplinary. Doc, I had you on my show too. You're multidisciplinary. You know how this is. When you're juggling a lot of different things, you need a way to interleave them, to organize them. That's what phases are. Phases are a way of understanding what your areas of interest or disciplines in your polymathic life are. And so for me, I have swimming. I taught swimming for over a decade, right? That's one of my phases. I have a content brand all about swimming. Poly Tools is one of my phases. It's all about content creation, content creators. Poly Innovator itself, my main personal brand, that's also a different phase on its own too. And they all interleave and have a focus, right? That focus is either going to be a project or some kind of capstone to that phase. A phase can be as short as a quarter or a month, or it can be as long as a year or a decade. It really depends on how much time you're willing to put forth into it and how deep of an expertise you want to build into that field, or what you're trying to contribute to that field. If it's a big endeavor, it's going to take a long time. If it's simply just a white paper or some kind of document, it might not take as long. Think of like a dissertation is another thing about it. Finally, the next layer, and so basically you're planning out that yearly note ahead of time, including your phases. And I can get more into that in a separate video. Next is the quarterly. And this one is another one where I differentiate from a lot of other knowledge management content creators out there. And so this is actually my new PIOS. I've been iterating it over the last 5 years. Shout out to Notion, because Notion's where I started. Now I'm in Obsidian because I think it's better. No shade to you, Doc, there, but I just want to throw it out there.
None taken. I'm not listening to you. Continue.
The next thing is, what are you doing, and is that actually aligned with what you want to become? And so in this case, I made this system for people who are generalist and polymathic, and so I wanted to make sure I push towards that multidisciplinary lifestyle. But you can take this same system and apply it to your specialist life if you're more of a narrow trench kind of guy or girl. That's fine. If you're a specialist or generalist, this will work for you, but I made this with generalists in mind. The quarterly layer allows you to organize your 4 pillars in your Ikigai. The Ikigai is your reason for being. It's the reason why you get up in the morning. There's a reason why the Okinawans in Japan live to be 100 years old, because they're living with their desired choice of work. And what they're doing brings value to the world. They're able to pay their bills with it, that kind of thing. And so that's what Ikigai is. And essentially, you're just trying to make sure you... Eric,
don't start.
Coda's all right. The issue with Coda or capacities or even Notion is that they're web-based.
I knew he couldn't do it. I knew he could not see that and not do this.
I'm already distracted, so I might as well do it. So the reason why I don't use Coda or capacities or even Notion is that they're web-based. And I had a lot of issues with Amazon Web Services, which most of these tools either use or they use something similar to it. And Amazon Web Services goes down periodically, a decent amount of time. And hell, even Notion goes down on its own half the time and lags quite a bit. I had issues where my databases wouldn't even load. In fact, I thought I was losing data because the databases weren't loading fast enough. And I only had like 1,000 items in the database, not that much. And so I also had the issue of when I was trying to figure out where do I want to organize my stuff? Well, I want to have the privacy on my computer. So that's why I use Obsidian, which is a local tool. There's other tools out there like AnyType or Affine, Lattice, a couple other things. You can all find those in the knowledge management category on polytools.blog, allowing yourself to just not to worry about each name. Look at the list. You'll be having a much better time there. Going back to this video here. The 4 pillars are your 4 major aspects of life. Shut up, Doc.
I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting here.
The 4 pillars are your 4 major aspects of life. You have your body pillar, which is essentially your exercise plan, but you also can include nutrition and recipes into this layer here, depending on how you want to organize or structure your information. The mind pillar is pursuing mental development and stimuli and keeping your mind fresh and strong. Just like your body, you have to exercise your mind. So the modular degree keeps track of all your blogs, articles, podcasts, audiobooks, books, courses, whatever educational materials you're using. That's how you organize it, is using that framework. Next is your spirituality, your spirit pillar. How do you go about taking care of your spiritual self? I don't want to get too woo-woo about it or woo-woo about it, but the point is meditating or having this balance between your conscious mind and subconscious mind and bridging that connection. I like to use, I have slash koans here because I like to use Buddhist koans as a, not trigger, but a something to ponder while I'm meditating. The next layer is emotions, which allows you to keep track of your EQ or emotional quotient, how you view others' emotions or view yourself's emotions. And you can also do a gratitude journal here because I know a lot of people in the knowledge management world like to do gratitude journals. That is it for that one. I need to take a little bit of a break, Doc. I need to go get a drink. So can you entertain the guests for a moment? You're muted. I can't hear you, dude. Is it just me, or is he still muted?
Daggone. Listen,
Okay,
I didn't want to cut you down. Okay, so basically what I've got right here is as Dustin is talking about his different ideas, I am also trying to make sure that I am showing or keeping track of all the things that he's talking about right here. And you could do the same thing. There's a link down below for you to try this out or to look at this as we're going through it. But basically, this really helps me to keep on track of all the different content that I'm learning about, all the different things that my guest is talking about. And as this is happening, all of this is being recorded on Granola that's going to be doing a summary of all of these topics, all of the things that are happening. And again, now that allows me to scale my marketing efforts if I want to have other things such as, you know what, don't even worry. I muted his mic. You can't even see what he's doing. If I'm doing things on LinkedIn, if I'm reaching out to get sponsors or all of these things, now I'm getting more and more content to show what I'm interested in, what I can bring to the table for my marketing, for my own personal brand. If I want to work with other associated brands, this helps hand in hand. So what I would say is, as you're looking at this, how are you planning your own marketing plan? Think about, who do you want to reach out to this year? Who do you want to collaborate with? Who do you want to have guest starring on your own podcast, your live stream, all of those things? And then start trying to contact them to have these kind of conversations. Me and Dustin, we have another show and we were talking about creating content. What are our goals for YouTube and beyond?
The brand
and this
doctors.
was one. That's right. But what is it called?
I just came up with the brand doctors real quick. So, you know, Doc Williams, brand doctors. I like branding.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
I like branding, so we made a brand.
I think it works. And so we were talking about this. How are we going to do this? This is what we're doing right here to make sure that we're showing off the tools, how you can do this yourself with your own brand for 2025. So if you want to see more tools, we've been talking about them for the last hour plus about different tools we're using. Or if you have questions on what do you do to emulate, like the concept for a second brain or something like that, we can go on and on about this as we do it, but let us know in the chat and we'll make sure that we keep going from there. And make sure if you like these different tools, you want to learn more about that, go over to Dustin's blog and website right there, PolyTools, that will give you a breakdown of all these different tools, what he's using, what he tells me to use, and I just go down a rabbit hole, but really good ideas to help you. Everyone's different. These are all different types of what you can do, and go from there. Yeah, if you want to hear about the brand doctors and have links to the show, we'll put the link for that so you can see his podcast and his channel as well. Okay.
So, real quick, I want to shout out something for the people to check out. Speaking of the tools that we use, I have a special series that I just shared into the private chat here. It's called My Current Tech Stack. And so what I found myself doing a lot of the time, talking to people like you, Doc, where I'm like, hey, here's all the different tools I'm using at this point in time. This is a series I created where it's like, hey, these are the things that I'm using right now. Like I used to use Riverside, now I'm using Podcastle. I used to use RecurPost, now I'm using New Link. Or I used to use Recast Studio, now I'm using Opus Clip. Stuff like that. And so when there's different changes every quarter, I try to write these every quarter. I think I still need to do Q4 this year, don't I? I still need to do Q3?
What's happening here?
Oh, no.
What's happening?
I'm behind.
It's all right. Keep going. It's all right.
Every quarter I try to make sure I share what I'm using, and I have a special kind of way I'm talking about it. If I have a reason why I'm leaving a tool, like Riverside gave me a lot of hell, I stopped using it. I try to mention that in that post there. But, yeah.
By the way, you have this link. Can you not put things in the general chat? Can you only do private chat?
Yeah, so I had to join with one of my YouTube channels, and I tried doing it while we were live streaming, but it was getting kind of like convoluted. And so
interesting.
Yeah.
No biggie. I'll do it. All good stuff.
I was gonna reply to Erica earlier. I'm sorry, Erica. I had to go through Doc.
Yep, it happens.
But I got my chocolate milk now, so I'm feeling a lot better.
There we go. So really a lot of good tools, a lot of good planning. Remember, I would just emphasize again, if you're from, if you've done stuff with LTDs, lifetime deals, or if you've been on AppSumo, I like this as a site that is really good resources, but remember, use it with what you need. Don't
Yeah.
just doom scroll and be like, oh, I've got to sign up for this because this is free. Have purpose and intention as you're picking the right tool. That will make you more successful,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
go from there. Yeah.
And the one thing I want to also just add too is that I'm working on trying to do more reviews or at least ratings of different tools or like talking about my experiences with some. And so right now I only have like a handful of ratings on there, but I just need to work on getting more and more.
Love it. Okay.
All
Next
right.
up.
I'm going to share my screen. I turned
Are
it
you?
off when I left. Now I am.
Okay.
So,
Go.
the next layer to the PIOS. So, we're talking about knowledge management for polymaths, and this is where it kind of gets more nitty gritty. You start getting into the micro details. My whole deal was that if you're using a knowledge management system, generally you're going to have kind of a couple different layers. You have projects and then tasks, and then maybe you have an other layer on top of it organizing your projects. What I really wanted was to have multiple layers, and that was kind of coming from that same polymathic mindset where I needed to keep track of my projects, but also the tasks and goals, but on top of that, each phases, which are all different areas of discipline that I'm working on. And so that's why I used Notion originally, because it was kind of like Lego, and I could build out whatever system I wanted. And then I took that system and applied it to other tools as well, so I'm able to transfer it. So on this third layer here, the monthly layer, every month you're going to be keeping track of the projects you're working on. Those projects might last more than a month, but that's okay. You're going to try to keep track of the goals you're working towards, and it's good to have goal tracking, but try not to overwhelm yourself with the goals. The main thing you really want to anchor to are the tasks, like trying to narrow down like what are the tasks you need to do to get that job done, either get that goal or project done. The more projects and tasks you get done, the closer you are to finishing a phase. I say finishing, but really a phase can be forever if you wanted it to be. But it would be a good idea to have measurable, smart goals to work towards. The next thing I wanted to mention here is this kind of monthly note. So for me personally, I took after Derek Sivers. He's a really great author and blogger. He has this idea called a now page. So every month, you update the now page with what's going on in your professional life or your personal life, and then you just share it with the audience that you have. And I think it's very neat. It allows you to kind of have a little bit of exposure to the people who are following you. Like, here's what I'm struggling with right now personally, or here's the challenges I'm facing professionally. And what I ended up doing was that, like, I started changing it. Like, I took this page. It was an actual page on the site. It wasn't a blog. And I would replace it every month. And I found myself like, no, it'd be more interesting to do it every month and keep it as a series so I could look back on it, or my kids could look back on it and see what I was doing at this point in my life. And so I realized that these now page updates that I'm doing on the first of every month, and I've done 50 of them now, so I've done it for 50 months in a row now. Or hold on, let me double check this real quick while we're at it. Now page, yeah, 53 is next month. So I've been doing it for quite a while, and it allows me to keep track of what I'm doing every month, and that's basically been my monthly notes. Moving on is weekly. Now, for some of you who are watching this, I may be going over the system kind of fast. This video is not meant to go over the system too in depth. I have other videos for that, and I'll be working on individual videos for each layer down the line as well. On the weekly layer, this used to be focused on the input and outputs, but I really changed the focus to just be systems and habits. In order to build systems, you have to have a habit that's been around for a while, and those habits can change, and you can lose a habit, but you can also build new ones too. Habits are fluctuating. You can go read Atomic Habits if you want to learn more about it. I'm not here to teach you how to do habit tracking, but I wanted to give you a space to do it, and then you can kind of start keeping track of you can start planning out systems ahead of time. For me, for example, I had the habit of working out over the course of the quarantine. I stopped working out as much, but I was able to get back into that habit because I had systems in place that allowed me to build myself back up. Same thing goes for everything else. Weekly planning notes are exactly as they sound. Every week, you're just planning a week ahead. This is one of the layers that I need to get better at, Doc. And
Yep.
then finally, the last couple layers here, the daily layer. This is the output layer. It used to be input and output as well, but it's mainly focusing on just what are you putting out into the world, even if it's private. So we have the public stuff, which is the content ecosystem. Then you have the private stuff, which is your daily journal notes. And then you have your personal connections with people, so the networking base. And this is what also separates my system from other tools too. So people don't really talk about networking when it comes to knowledge management. I think having your own personal CRM or Rolodex is very important. So you can keep track of people's information like birthdays and stuff like that. And then you just want to make sure you keep people's privacy important. That's something to mention. The content ecosystem is really kind of where this kind of went out of hand, and I don't want to get too into it in this video today, but being able to keep track of all the content you're producing, as well as doing your daily notes. And then finally, you have the archive layer, which is where you put everything else that doesn't fit these other layers, as well as your templates. So if you have templates for your content, this is where they'll be housed, and usually the tools like Obsidian or Notion can pull from specific folders, allowing you to create that content more effectively and more fast. And that is it. That's really the knowledge management for Polymaths. I think, Doc, I need to talk about, like, I need to do an outro now, or like an ending part of it.
Cool. I mean, I like it. If I'm understanding correctly, so it's the operating system for, it's giving you the planning structure at all phases of your life, categorizing, structure for the year, month, week, daily, all of those things. I just have a question of, like, number one, how would someone start implementing it? Like, do they start doing it yearly? Like, how do they go about using the operating system? That's my one question. Or should they just go, here's the first video to watch to do those kind of things? And then that tying the bow, if they're interested in all these things, like, what should they do next? Are they going to download the operating system? That would be just a couple things for the outro, I would think.
Well, and this particular video is kind of a more broader video to, like, give people an understanding of what my channel is about. So thanks for having that question there. If you would like to pursue more about, if you would like to work on the PIOS for your own life, I think the first step is to watch some more videos or read some blog posts about it. I have either or, depending on your taste of consumption, and even some podcasts as well. But basically, go to the blog, look at the blog post. I think we share it here earlier, something like that. And essentially, get an understanding of what the system is about. I think having a bigger picture view is more important right now than trying to really dive right into it. Because when you're working with these tools, I created a framework, but the framework is tool agnostic. Depending on which tool you're using, it could be different. I built it in Notion, but I've used it in Capacities. I've used it in Obsidian, Acrium, and all these other different knowledge management tools, and even Airtable. But depending on which tool you prefer and that you're used to, it may change your process on how to adopt this PIOS. And the next thing is, too, you also have to figure out why you want to do it. Are you trying to focus on your yearly layer, plan out your years better? Or you're trying to do probably more likely than not, it's the daily layer, or where you're trying to figure out what content you're producing, or you're trying to keep track of your journal, try to build some habits, and kind of work your way up. I think that's kind of the way to go about it. You work off the daily layer, then the weekly, and you start getting better and better at doing the weeks, and then doing the months, then the quarters, and then the years. I'm still working on my years, and I've been doing this for years. And so that's kind of where it's at, where you have to start from somewhere. Start small, micro, and work your way up.
Love it. Done. Done. Okay, cool.
I'm going to put this in sitting mode because I've been standing for the last 90 minutes.
It's good for you. It's good for you. Yeah, I've been sitting the whole time. So as we did that, okay, so we structured that.
For the desk to come down, please.
Yeah. Let me take a look
Should have muted myself, honestly.
My stuff for a second. Okay, we talked about this. Okay, cool. So again, if you're following along, you like the notes, let me know. But we have structured to talk about the knowledge management for Polymaths. What is next, my friend? Well, wait, maybe I should say this. If you're just joining, if you're looking at what we're doing, we're structuring how you can really focus on your marketing for 2025 and figure out the pillar and authority content that you want for your brand. And so Dustin, he is building out Poly Innovators. He has a number of great topics. We're live streaming to show you our process, what we're doing, and what tools we're using as we're actually making this live. And you can see us repurposing and all of those things as well. So I'll be dropping the notes of what we're sharing right now, and we'll continue. So.
And if you want to learn more too, polyinnovator.space is my website. I have plenty of different blog posts about this topic, as well as I even have a membership on there. What I'm trying to do is work on having a unique application of the PIOS. So depending on which tool you like to use, I want to make a template for Notion, Airtable, and Obsidian in particular. And then that way you can copy that template and use it yourself. And really, mine's a framework. I'm not going to give you the details when it comes to like a habit tracker, because there's plenty of habit trackers out there, and it might be better for you to find your own habit tracker. But when it comes to things like content production, I have my own template for that. Same thing for the modular degree, and I provide those as well. And Erica, if you want to tweet at me, we can work something out and I can get you onto the site too.
Awesome. Great stuff. Okay, so we have this. We've just finished knowledge management for polymaths. What is the next topic we're going to be exploring and recording about?
I don't know if I want to do this particular one.
That means we're probably going to do it.
I really want to do more for the PolyTools channel. So let's just talk a little bit, Doc, about bigger strategy and like what's the plan for the next year, because I think really the big reason why we're doing this video, right? You and I both are pretty comfortable in sharing our process. And so we're doing this live stream here, which is already a piece of content. And now we're doing this live recording of multiple different short videos, different highlights of this live stream that we're chopping up into VODs. And then I'm obviously going to take this live stream and make it into clips as well. And we're also going to turn it into blog posts and something like that. But I think the real point is there that like we're able to share this process. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, tell me more. I like where you're going. Keep going with this.
Well, I was trying to figure out, like, I lost my train of thought a little bit there because I found that people can learn a lot from the way that someone creates content. And not enough creators share what the process is like for making content. And so, for example, during like the third video that we worked on during this live stream, I made a mistake. I said the sentence wrong, and so I resaid the sentence a moment later to allow myself to just cut out that first part. That's what I would do if you weren't here. If I was just recording by myself, I would just have a couple duplicate lines and then get rid of the duplicates. Generally speaking, when it comes to content that I create, I generally make more raw content, kind of like what we're doing now, although this is still a little bit more structured than I probably would normally do. And the reason being is that that's what comes out naturally for me. When I started making content ages ago, actually, one of the first topics we talked about at the beginning of this live stream was getting to 100 pieces of content in your experience folder, right? Under your belt. That's right, 100 pieces of content under your belt. Well, you're not going to know what you do right or wrong until you've done it. And so when I started making YouTube videos, I tried to script everything because that's what I was told I was supposed to do. And I wanted to make sure that I don't go off rambling, which, you know, I can definitely do sometimes. Even right now, technically, this is a tangent, but I wanted to go around and just be more concise, and I wanted to be more professional. But when you look at the videos, they were monotone. They were kind of stale. I'm staring at the camera too much, or I'm looking off to the side, looking at my notes, and trying to remember these lines as I'm doing it. They weren't natural. Actually, I wasn't looking at the camera enough, if I recall correctly, because I was looking at my notes off to the side. Now there's eye correction tools that can probably make it happen, but I don't want to deal with that. And so what I realized after doing, 30, 40 pieces of like videos, I was like, I need to do more raw. Just 3 bullet points and call it a day. And really, Doc, you helped me today making these videos, but a lot of the stuff I've made these videos with, I only had a title. That's all I had to work off of. And I was able to do a full video from memory because these are all topics I can talk about from the heart. And that's really what content creation's about. I'm gonna cry.
That's why we have you here. I love it. So I agree with so much of that. I think a lot of times people hear well-meaningful advice about how to get started, but I think number one, I think it's a little bit outdated, and I don't think it's very practical.
My advice or their advice?
Say it again.
Like my advice or their advice?
Their advice. I wouldn't just say whatever Dustin just said. I think is just don't do it. No, I think what you're saying is right. But what I wanted to highlight, your story, I think people right now, especially after the pandemic, people are used to seeing people at home in a little bit less polished sides of themselves. And I think, and you've even seen this with like how YouTube is showing trends and what you're seeing at Vid Summit and all these things, longer form, very genuine content is working because people just want to know that you're real.
Yeah.
And I think if you're working from an outline or a very specific point of view, that is almost all the things that you need. A manuscript, something that is very tight. I don't think that's necessary for a lot of content out there. Yes, there are still some professions or some verticals that might need it, But I think there's a reason why in the car or on a walk videos work and convert so much better for
Mhm.
creators, because they know you're real. They feel like they're just having a conversation with you. And I think it depends on like you being comfortable with yourself, or you finding a way. Like when I first started like creating content about automation, and I said I was going to go after certain clients, I got feedback. Some people are like, oh, you've got to dress up, or you've got to, you can't be in a hoodie.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. But I love hoodies and I love sitting by like in this room. So that helped me to like find the right audience. If people want to see me buttoned up and all this, they're just not going to like who I am. They're not going to like my content. They're not going to like working with me. So I think leaning into either a format, leading into something that you have passion about, like you said, you're like, it's kind of bland. I think people want to see, it doesn't have to be negative or people screaming, but they want to see personality and that you
Mhm.
really care and you want to rant a little bit about something you're passionate about. I think that's the secret sauce to creating content and like starting and being to do it at scale, you know, over and over again. That's just me.
The scale part especially, and right now the meta of content creation is being more raw. And so I think Nick Nimmin might have been talking about this, but someone else in kind of his world too was talking about how like every few years maybe, or every year almost in a way, it'll kind of flip-flop where you either need really optimized highly edited hook content or you need raw content. And over the course of YouTube's lifespan, it's flip flopped a number of times. And right now, we're in the flop of more raw and off the cuff. And so, Doc, the part of the reason why we're doing this live stream is that, like I said, I've had a lot of content on the back burner for a long time. And one of the series that I wanted to do was this Omni content series that I created, which I would make a blog post, and then using that blog post as a baseline, I would make a video. I wasn't just reading off the blog post, I was using it as highlights. I was being raw, but I was using that structure that I made in the blog post to make a better video. Or maybe I'll even use a slide deck. I would make a slide deck for it using the blog post and then using that as a visual for the video. And then I would cut out the audio, make a podcast. And so every episode, that was the strategy. That's what the series was. It wasn't a niche topic series, it was a strategy series. So every episode would be a different topic. What I found myself doing though is that every so often I would have a mini series in that Omni content series, and it would be around maybe 12 episodes of a certain topic. Ikigai is one of them, how to build a computer is one of them, but two of them that I really wanted to get done was the 4 pillars, which we talked about earlier in this video, and then there was also how to be an influencer. At least back then, that's what was actually useful. Now that influencer doesn't really mean the same thing as it used to. I changed it to be a modern content creator. And so right now, as we speak, every week on my first 2 channels, I have a video going out for about 3 months. I guess we're reaching towards the end of that for one of the channels. But my point is, I finally got done with those series because I was able to batch record on those topics and get it done because they were all raw, off the cuff, and coming from the heart.
I love that. So, okay, we're going to go through this in a second. I think this is really important. I'm going to go through. Do you want to go through yours first or mine? We'll
Let's
just
go with
go
yours.
step by step. Okay. By the way, I'm going to be dropping Dustin's handle for Twitter.
No,
Make
it's
sure
everywhere.
it's everywhere. Okay,
I'm
awesome.
on Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, Mastodon, Instagram,
That's
TikTok.
I don't know where these.
Don't go Mastodon. Mastodon's not worth it.
I don't know what's going on
If you
here.
want to do a tangent about blockchain social networks, we can definitely do that too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good thing. So this is what I'll say. Well, before I do this, so you don't like the term being an influencer now? What tell me about that?
That's not my preference. That's just across the board. Influencer does not mean quite the same what it used to mean. And so, really, influencers are still around, but being a modern content creator is not necessarily the same thing as an influencer anymore. And so I figured, like back in the day, kids wanted to be an influencer. Now they want to be a content creator. The terms have changed, and so it's just even though both terms existed back then, the meaning behind it has shifted or evolved over the last like 5 years since I came up with that idea for that series.
I like that. I mean, I think about it even with like ConvertKit, how their first part was, don't even get me started, them switching their names. Again, this is the second time. I'm not even going to get into it.
What was
But
the first name?
so remember it was ConvertKit. Then they changed it to, I think it was Kava. I think they changed it. I have to check.
I don't remember.
Siva. There we go. Siva. They changed it to Siva. Because this was a couple of years ago. Maybe this was like 2017, 2018.
Because I don't
Changed
remember
it back because the backlash of what it meant. It's a term I think it's in Hindi,
Mm.
and what it meant, and then they changed it back, and then this year they changed it to Kit.
The thing
Yeah.
with Kit though is that they did buy out Kit.co, and I'm a little frustrated by them because they have not explained what they're going to do with that. They have Kit.com, which is ConvertKit, but they have Kit.co, which is a place where creators can share basically Amazon links of all their different products they use for their content creation or whatever kind of lists
Oh
you want to
yeah.
make. And early on in my content creator world, I started making a whole bunch of lists of the tools I used and the tech I used. So I have a whole bunch of Kit.com, the Kit.co stuff, but they haven't talked about what they're going to do to combine their services. And I've asked them directly on Twitter and email threads, and I've gotten like very like pushed around responses.
That's hilarious. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. Um, okay. So let me try to find this real quick. I'm going to show my process of creating content. Give me 1 second.
Ooh.
Let's see.
Oh, Doc, you just reminded me of something that we should do for a video. I have another video for the Polytools channel after you're done with yours.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this. Let me do this over here. So basically, I'm going to show like content creation, and then I'm going to show you my YouTube strategy, which basically, so I'll put it from this light. Content for me starts with YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because my channel is associated with what I care about the most, and that is usually emerging technology or something about automation. So it's how to make business simple with automation and AI. That's it. Now, the thing is, it overlaps because all the tools that I've used kind of talk about all those things. Some people will say, like, oh, learn how to do something without coding. But the problem is the term no code is a dumpster fire with
Yeah.
anything. If you search, there's no way. No code doesn't really translate. And it's even worse when you're trying to translate it into different languages. It makes no sense. Like literally no code makes no sense if you're talking about it. So that being the case, AI is a lot easier. We're going to be talking about the YouTube mastermind that I have. Shout out to Erica. She's part of it too. But
Excuse me.
this is, first of all, don't even, we go back and forth. Okay, our mastermind, we're not even going to go into this. Okay, that's for beginners.
Thank you,
Okay,
Erica.
we're gonna go into this for a second. Um, let's go right here. So I have that right here, and then I'm bringing up content creation real quick. And this is how I usually talk to people about creating live streams, but it's really the fundamental to everything. So I'm doing that. What kind of tools are you using? Could you talk about either live
For
streaming or
what?
anything like that?
Well, we talked about the meta of YouTube a little while ago, and another meta trend I'm noticing is multi-streaming. And obviously, we're multi-streaming right now to Twitch and YouTube, but doing horizontal multi-streaming is kind of the old way of doing it. Now, the new way is doing vertical and horizontal at the same time. So imagine like Doc is on the top and I'm right here. Like when we're doing a shared screen, over to the side of the camera is both of our face cams. Imagine that just be the full screen on YouTube Shorts, for example. And I'm noticing that a lot with gaming streamers, particularly like Pokemon streamers or Minecraft streamers right now, or even Apex streamers, where they have their face cam and then the gameplay underneath it, and essentially they're streaming to TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts all at the same time vertically, but then also to YouTube, Twitch, Kick, Rumble, Caffeine, whatever they want to use horizontally. And it's just a fascinating trend, and there's actually a few tools now that you can do it. Streamlabs is probably the one I'm looking at the most because it can do the syndication for you, so it takes the processing power off your computer. But the other two tools are Stream Elements and Atom, and there are OBS plugins that you can use to do vertical as well, and multi-streaming.
I love it. Okay, so this is kind of the format how I go about it. We're gonna go like overview, and then we'll go like deep dive. Um, but I think this really, if anyone knows me, I think this makes sense. Like how content creation drives revenue. This starts with me personally. I think about the bottom line, how much money am I going to be making from content creation and like the different revenue sources. That's just me. So and we have a goal. I've talked about this. In 18 months, I want to hit 100,000 subscribers. But more importantly, I want to hit 5K per month minimum of revenue from different streams of content creation online. So everything that I do is structured. How am I going to make money off of this? Off of my passions. Like, this is all based off the passion. If I did not get paid a cent, I would be putting up just as many videos. Fun fact, I have about 800 videos unlisted. So my YouTube channel actually is probably around 1,200 to 1,300 videos. Right now, it's less than 500 public, right? So it's just something I would do either way. So if we break this down, let's talk about revenue and why this is the main point, right? So the first thing that I do when I think about this, no matter what I'm thinking about the revenue sources, I'm thinking about just going live. Me and Dustin have been talking about this. I really like going live because if you feel that you feel overwhelmed with script writing, anything like that, live streams allow you to just capture all of the great moments and you can chop it up later. So I think that alleviates a lot of stress for people like, I've got to do it perfectly, or I don't know how many takes I'm going to do. Just click record, just press record and you'll be fine. Now, the one thing is, like I mentioned, determining your revenue goal. We'll talk about the ways to get there. But if you're going to say, I just want to make $100 a month, 200, 500, 1,000, it doesn't matter. Think about the goal. But the next thing that is really important is create the customer journey to solve a problem. Now, I know that's a typo, but it's okay. And you notice right there, that's a hook that I say over and over again. I left this in for a reason. When you live stream and people see imperfections in you, people like you a lot more because it's just you being real. People make mistakes. And so if people see, oh, wow, they don't have it all together, or, hey, they don't spell everything correctly, then it leads into, I'll talk about later, my origin story. I have severe dyslexia. No matter how many times I do all of these things, I still make mistakes. That's okay. That's why I rather do videos than anything else like that.
And it goes back to knowing what you like to do and what you're good at.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. The next one is 3 key concepts to build the right content and make sales. We'll talk about the 3 like pillars that I like talking about, the 3 concepts, but like you're going to pick a format. I'll talk about how we do it, and then how do we make sales. So how to stand out. I'm a huge fan of like standing out as a superhero. I love superheroes. I love these kind of origins. But if you're looking at it, what's your superpower? What's your origin story? How do you save people? If you think about any superhero, they do the same exact thing, but you can think about any modern content creator, it could do the same thing. So like Superman, what's his power? He can jump over our tall building. He's strong. He's fast, all these things. What's his origin story? He left, his planet blew up, You know the difference, right? Who do you save? And who does Superman save? He saves pretty much everyone from Metropolis, but like kids, all people in distress. So for yourself, your superpower, what do you have? So my superpower is I know a lot about different tools and how to save time and make people more money. That's like my superpower. I like to do that. Origin story. I'm a terrible coder because I have dyslexia. I have ADHD. I have all of these problems, but I had to find ways to somehow, figure out a job for myself and how to help people. And who do I save? I save content creators. I create basically businesses, ones that feel overwhelmed with trying to run their business. They're brilliant, but they just don't know how to automate or make their business more efficiently. That's who I help, right? So it's the same exact format over and over again, and going from there. And then this one is the formats, and we'll kind of talk about it. Content formats, how to, interviews, review industry news, or day in the life. For me, I find that vlog, day in the life, it's just not me. That's just not me. Like I don't think people really care, nor do I really want to create that content. I love creating how-to videos. And if you could see it, like how to use Flutterflow, how to use this, we're doing it right now. How to use AI for marketing. Like that's what it is. Interviews, me and Dustin are talking to each other, but I like doing interviews, going with that. And then reviewing industry news and topics. I think I'm usually on Twitter and I kind of know what's going on with AI and no code. So I'll make topical videos on those things. So for you, for a person, it's like, what do you like doing? Pick the top three and then just go with one. If you can go with one very easily, that's what you're going to be really focusing on to get started. And, like Dustin was talking about, the 100 videos, focusing on that. So you're picking a format. The one last thing, step 4, different revenue sources for your community from your content. You've got to think about where you're driving it, because on social media, if they deem to shut your channel down, you've got to already be thinking about where you leading people to get them off of social media. So for me, I'm either driving them to a free resource guide, from an idea to app, 50 plus high paying side hustles. I'm thinking about my audience, because my audience is usually trying to figure out a side hustle or a job that they can make more streams of income. And so I'm helping them reach that with other resource guides or something like that. For businesses, it might be, hey, I'm a business owner. I've got a Shopify store, but I feel overwhelmed. There's a bottleneck. How can I do it? Okay, well, there's automation and ways for you to do that. That's another way for me to connect and to help people. Some are free, some are not. And these are the streams of income that you can decide. And I do a mixture of these, but this is what it is. I do consulting one-on-one, but you can do consulting if you have a skill. Like Erica does, teaches people how to create different events online, virtual events. You could hire her not to just run the event, but maybe you're just like, I need someone to plan out my event. You could pay for her consulting, right? Maybe it's the template of, hey, I want to create a certain kind of app. I don't need you to build it. Can I buy your template? So there's so many different things that you can do. Consulting, templates, resource guides, affiliates. How many times Dustin dropped his affiliate link for Opus Clip during the broadcast, right? Tons of things you can do. Curated libraries, AI chatbots, especially if you're a professional, you want to scale your methodology. People can't afford you like one-on-one, or maybe you're not taking new clients. Make a chatbot based off of your methodology. And that's just a few of those different things. And you can look at these different communities to find ideas from it. Go to AppSumo, go to tons of other things, and that's a whole other topic. But that, again, I start with revenue first. How much am I trying to make, bare minimum? And then I go into what kind of videos do I need to create for my audience, and go from there. I'll take a break real quick.
Yeah, well, it gets me started on an idea too. It's the dichotomy of you and me, Doc. It's like we're brand doctors, but we have different angles. It's like I focus more on the omni-channel syndication and reaching out like an octopus, whereas I think you're more focused on the revenue and monetization, which is both of them are very important. And so I think it's really interesting to think about that. And maybe we could talk about this on Tuesday when we do our brand doctor meeting, where it's like, how do we combine our two strategies, if you will? You know what I mean? I think that's the key. Are you using Momentum for your new tab?
Yeah, man. Stop looking at my
Okay.
stuff like that.
Hey,
You don't like
I'm gonna
it?
no, I do. I just don't use it anymore. I don't have a new tab
I
anymore
am
'cause I'm
going.
using Arc browser. So
Oh, I got you. I got you. Just one thing I wanted to show.
hmm
If you see it, there's a pattern every week. So we were talking about batching before. I'm doing some kind of listicle every single week. So like top
hmm
items, da 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 da. Right? If you look at it, then it's like beginners, another thing. And then if you look at this, it's interviews. So now if I feel like I'm stuck, I already know kind of what I need to do in that rhythm of what's happening. If I can't think of anything, and we'll talk about ChatGPT and creating agents in this next part, but like now I know where I need to be in my content creation. And instead of me trying to feel like the motivation, or if I'm like, well, I don't know what to research, because it's really easy for me to just like feel paralyzed to creating videos. I was like,
hmm
no, I know what I need to stack. I need to do this kind of beginners videos. I need to do this kind of interviews. And then you have a momentum of putting out content. And guess what? The 3 AI tools, I have a specific lead magnet to that. For ones for $1 for beginners, a specific lead magnet for that. And so now you kind of get the funnel for people to not just see you on YouTube and wait for the next video. I'm doing call to actions to see either a product that I'm reviewing and I have an affiliate link, a paid template, or a paid guide of what I'm doing. And you can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to share my screen too. It's actually kind of similar to what you're talking about there. I wanted to create a consistency layer, like I mentioned before too. And actually, I don't know how long we were going to do our live stream for, but I could always add more to the series that I'm doing. This is one I just created yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago, where like how to get started as a content creator. So I did a couple videos earlier with you on this live stream that kind of falls in the same playlist as this is. But I actually batch recorded a series that you can see 5 of right here that are for this. And the rest of them are going to go out until the end of January. But then I have a few other ones that I've made. I'm going to reorganize this into like a prioritization so people can watch this playlist. It's actually a podcast too. So I'm going to take all the audio and make it into an actual podcast for people to listen to. And now we have an idea of like, how do you actually become a modern content creator and have a very long list of content to take off.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one last thing too. Well, this is going into this next phase. And this is what I didn't tell Dustin, but this is what this is what I really wanted to focus on, because I think this is a block and this is just an exercise. We don't have to do all of them, but I want, Dustin, for you to do it so we can show other people. What I mean by that is a lot of times people are thinking about a piece of content that is really well polished and it's like their signature piece. But usually creating the first draft is the most beneficial to then iterate and build faster. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm going to challenge you, Dustin, and what I want to show other people, if you have a blog post or something that you're struggling with, make sure that you have an outline or just a topic, and then use AI or AI agents, we'll talk about that in another video, to give you an outline or flesh it out for you, and then go back and refine it or write it more in your voice or things like that. So can we go through this for an example of like using ChatGPT and really start going through this process? Or do you want me to do one first and then you do it? Dustin, what would you prefer?
Neither.
But we're going to do one of them. We're going to do one of them.
Give me a second here. Let me share my screen here. Let me talk about this real quick. So, for example, the way I'm organizing content right now is through this folder structure. So I have all my different series here and whatnot. And on my blog posts, I had about 230 ideas that I wanted to get through. So I've organized them by phases. And this is different from the PIOS phases. But these are just like phase 1 are the most important SEO focused things that I want to be known for, not thought leadership, then a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. On here, what I ended up doing was going through each of these different topics and taking the title that I had and then use ChatGPT to come up with an outline. Now, I don't normally like using AI too much to generate a post. Like, I want to do it myself. I like writing. That's why I do it. But having an outline to help speed up the process is what we're talking about here. And so I went through each one of these, and actually not this one, I guess, but that's because I wanted to write it. But each one of these to come up with a different outline for each of these different videos. And I think that's kind of interesting to think about, where it's not going to take the process off of me. It's just speeding up the process.
I love that. So why haven't you batch recorded those things? So you have the outline and you want to do it as videos each one, right? So the outline
posts.
Why don't you do it as a video first and then turn it into a blog post?
Because I want to write it. I'm a writer first. So you talked about how you like doing live streams. When I did my Omni content series, for example, it would have been a lot easier for me to just do a video, cut out the audio, make a podcast, and then cut out the transcription to make a blog post. But I start from writing. That's where I flesh out my ideas. That's how I ideate and come up with the topics and like flesh it out articulate wise. So while I'm good on video, I'm even better as a writer. And that's why I was kind of like, when you talked about what we're doing today, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it, Doc. I can try.
You're fine. You did great. You did great. So let me ask you this. If any of those things, okay. How much, if you haven't completed those blog posts, first of all, tell the audience, why is it so important for you to finish the blog post?
So let me just kind of go over some of these titles. I think that's probably going to be more prudent here because I don't know. I keep sharing my screen because.
Well, stop doing that.
Yeah, I don't like sitting on the screen. Especially for repurposing, it's better for us to be on screen rather than sharing the screen. So that way, we have a higher resolution face cam.
True.
But like, for example, this one's a PIOS topic. This is about Obsidian. Where is this? Yeah, Obsidian here. And these are all basically thought leadership for knowledge management so I can compete with other people in a knowledge management space. So that's why these are important because they're SEO optimized and focused on like, hey, if you want to use Obsidian for podcasting, there's hardly anybody talking about that out there. I can fill that niche that is out there. A step-by-step guide to the modular degree. My first phase of content was around this modular degree. I need to start finishing off. I need to cap off that phase and just basically finish it off. And so there's a lot of content here that I've been wanting to make for a long time. So that's one reason that's a priority because it's been in my list for a long time. Or it's something that's really interesting, like digital feng shui. Like, ooh, that's an interesting topic. Let's go into that. I don't really have a whole lot when it comes to the ideas, but I wanted to talk about this unique topic that no one else is doing. And so that's the prioritization. Either it's really unique, or it's something that's been around for a long time, or it's for SEO thought leadership like this one. And that's why I was so gung-ho about it.
And so what's your cadence of writing?
I want to do one a day, if not maybe 3 a day, so I can catch up. Because there's 200 ideas on this list. I mean, if I look through here, boom, 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 that's all those ideas. And I don't like sharing the list of this, but I'm going fast enough that people probably won't notice. But that's why I have to go so fast because I have so many here.
And then what do you think about what has been your cadence in recent months or
Let's just look at the last like week. Let me go on the Polyinnovator site. Ghost. So my last blog post I think I wrote this morning. And then let's see. So 9 hours ago, November 21st, so 3 days ago. November 21st, 3 days ago. But I think that one was, I had 2 posts I needed to make in one day. Then I had November 5th and October 26th, October 18th. So essentially about 1 a week or so, or 2 a week. And that's the issue. But also keep in mind, around this time, I was also batch recording a whole bunch of videos for my channels. So that's another balance of being a creator. Like if you're doing multi-formats and you're not repurposing them to do it, then you have to be careful with your content silos and making sure it's consistent.
This is a challenge. You don't have to do it. But if you look at, even on Twitch, people do whatever. I mean, people sleep for like their streams. So, I'm not saying go do that. But what would you think about going live every day for half an hour and you're just writing? So that forces you in the space, but then you're just working on something and keeping the cadence live. It's intimate. I know some writers do not want to show that off, but
it kind of reminds me of the early days of blogging. So just a little tangent here. I don't know if you remember in 2020 when Clubhouse came out and there was this live stream of audio, and now we're live streaming video, which has been famous for 15 years now. But back in the day with blogging, it used to be live blogging was the thing. And people never really knew that. And I just wanted to bring that up because it's kind of cool.
I didn't know that. That. I think you should do it. I think you should consider it.
Live streaming, yeah.
I mean, because if you're looking at even on Twitch, and I'm seeing people like just code, and they're just coding, they're just doing something, but it keeps your cadence, it keeps what you're doing. And if people are watching, great. If people aren't watching, this is for you, right? You're like, this is what I love doing. And then it just gets you in the right space, gives you the right time to carve out. Excuse me. Just like what I use? Is it Momentum? Yeah. So like for this one, it just gives you sounds, like it can go like background noise or whatever. You can have tranquil sounds, and you just write for that 25 minutes, 45 minutes, however you get. And now you're going so much farther with all of your different things.
On this live stream, am I just saying like, hey, come chill with me while I'm writing?
Yeah. I mean, to tell you the truth, and you just sent me this thing, which I'm going to have to talk about Meld in a second. What is this? What in the world?
You've known about this. I've talked about
this. You know what? We're going to talk about this. You know what? We're going to talk about this live because I'm going to talk about this. Okay. So number one, Erica says, never knew about live blogging. I love that idea. And I really think so. So for the first one, I'm not sure if you remember this, Build with Me was when I would just live stream build, that was based off
But that's
of
more interesting because it's more visual.
it doesn't matter. It's visual if you're just zoom in on your whatever. Or you see half the people that are ADHD just have live streaming on like you typing and just put a background video while you're typing. Let them be distracted. You see that on TikTok, like two different
get a
videos.
little Subway
You know what I'm saying?
Surfer right there in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. Do it. Do
I
it.
should do a little Subway Surfer. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, no, do it. Do it. I think you should. But I mean, and then I saw like Study With Me. People study different languages. You can do live writing. I think you should do live blogging for what you're doing. It will, it's a different thing. Not a lot of people are doing it or that I know of, but it keeps you consistent. And I think you enjoy doing it. I want you to succeed at this and knock these blogs out. I think it's a good happy medium and it's a safe space on Twitch versus, whatever you want to do. If you want to multi-stream, but if you're like, hey, I'm only going to do it on this one channel, smaller audience, a lot, just a smaller amount of people seeing it, not omni-channel, but still.
This one thing that stopped me from doing doing live streaming too. Is I really am obsessed with the idea of multi-streaming and getting them all done. If you look up, actually scroll back up a little bit, or right there's fine. It says outputs, so you can see the little outputs on the right side there. You can just check off different boxes and multi-streaming. So Meld Studio, Stream Elements, Atom, and Streamlabs, they all now have multi-streaming, and it allows you to just basically check a checkbox, and you can send your stream to other places, which is really cool.
I love that.
I think Meld Studio is also going to add, shout out the StreamYard, but yeah.
You don't care. You don't care about me.
Well, I just considering all that happened with StreamYard, and with StreamYard, I just wanted to I'm just antsy about promoting it.
Can you bring guests on Meld or no?
Meld is not it's not like Riverside, right?
Yeah.
Meld
but
is
although I'm seeing two people right there.
I don't think they have. I think they're just recording. Well, I think this is just multiple people. Is what they're doing in this video. But maybe, it looks like they're doing a podcast right there. So I don't know. So Meld is not like Riverside or StreamYard where it's in the web. It's on their computer, and that makes a difference there too. But it has all these animations and shapes and all the stuff you want to do in like OBS, but all built into it without having to have extra plugins and like post-production. Even look at that stuff there. It's like they have all these features that's kind of built into it, even better than Streamlabs, which I would say is a pretty well established tool.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you my only one gripe about it so far.
The installing process or whatnot.
No, I got the installing done.
Okay.
I got it done. I've got one more thing though. When I wanted to not go live and just record it so I could do other things, right? It says I'm recording. Wonderful. I stopped recording. I, for the life of me, cannot find where the saved files go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when it says you're recording, I'm not even joking. We gotta go try it out. I'm not even joking.
God.
Yeah. And you're gonna say like, oh, this is ridiculous.
It's in my videos folder. That's where I put it. I think I just.
But I never set it up. And where did I go? Where did I go?
So okay. Let me share the screen.
You're gonna say that's really stupid. Have you tried to record it on Meld?
Yeah, that's what I mainly use. I don't like using OBS.
Let me see.
And Streamlabs is set up for my gaming, so I can't do it. So I'm sharing my screen, Chief.
All right.
Don't mind my passive aggressive sigh.
You are.
We have Meld here. It's blank because I'm using my camera for StreamYard. You go up to File, Preferences, and boom, right there. Recording local destination videos.
This is my thing with UI UX, and you know this. You know this, right? Okay, you're on this. You can do both. Record something real quick in Meld.
Okay, because my camera's being used somewhere else.
Why don't you just record it you can just record it black right there.
Okay.
Look, okay.
Record, talking. This is a batch recording.
Okay, all right. Okay. If this is where it's saying record, if you didn't show me that, where was I going to find where I found my recordings?
But I don't think OBS shows it either. They don't just tell you.
I don't use OBS either.
Yeah, but most people do.
You're saying new creators use
OBS
the filth that is OBS.
It's not filth. It's very.
It is for new creators that are not technologically sound to use OBS.
That's what they do for live streaming. That was like the #1 live streaming tool people use.
Yeah, I used it back in 2010, but not now. Not
Even
now.
Although I will say Streamlabs has definitely gone into the market share, but now I think Meld is doing a lot better. I don't know why you were confused, Doc.
I
Maybe
swear. Okay, you know what? No, this is what
I'm
you
not
know what
trying to
I'm gonna do.
gaslight you here. I'm
You
just
are
saying.
you. This
I'm
is
just
the
saying.
definition of gaslighting. This is the whole
It's
thing.
right there.
It wasn't right there. If you clicked record, it wasn't right there.
It's
You
not
went
gonna
where?
ask you where do you want to record every single time.
In StreamYard right now, when we end recording, it then pops up and it says where everything is located.
But that's because it's a
Uh-huh.
web app. Most
Yeah.
of the web apps do that, but like it's not
But
better. It's just because they don't have access to your local storage.
you're killing me. You're killing me right now.
Look,
You're
it's either
just
gonna
so-
be in your videos folder in
I'm
Windows,
gonna look it up.
or
Okay, we're gonna look at this.
it's gonna be
Really?
where you just designated to put it.
We're gonna discuss this.
You're getting so heated.
Look at this. You just told me, right, that Meld is what makes Meld so different. I can't remember. What did you say? No, I forgot what
Well,
you
I
said.
mean, it's just a lot more cleaner interface. They have a lot more features built into it, like the transitions and the post effects and stuff like that. And it has everything kind of just built into it, rather than OBS's complexity that you had to build out yourself.
This is just wait. Once we're done with the stream, I'm gonna be looking at this.
Look, at 10th time you said you're gonna be looking at this stock.
This just wait.
Whoever
No,
lasted this long on this live stream is gonna be seeing
listen.
the end.
And the reason I say the filth that is OBS is because there's two different things. It's the same way I feel about Node-RED. Sometimes there is a community built that they're like, oh, you weren't here at the beginning. You're right. Like that's on you. And I'm like, if you want new people to learn how about this, you have to be very simple for new beginners. In Node-RED, shout out to Node-RED, and OBS, unless you have creators, there's a few that will break it down to the very beginning, to the studs of how to use it.
Yeah,
it is not intuitive. And everyone that's like, it's OBS. You should just know how to use it.
It's more reliable. That's the problem. I mean, and I know that's an ironic thing to say because I've had a lot of issues with it too. If you don't set it up right, it's unreliable. But if you set it up right, it is consistent. And other tools like Bandicam or Filmora and stuff like that, they're not consistent. And I had way more issues finding my files in those tools. But OBS is made to be that Swiss Army knife of tools. Now, I'm going to share another tool with you here, and I want you to share with the audience because it's made for creators, and so I think it's helpful. In fact, I'm surprised I haven't told you about it yet. If you think OBS is filth because of its complexity, Doc, then that same philosophy has to be applied to Notion.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I tell
and you
people
want to know the
time.
solution? I think Meld Studio is a better choice than OBS because of its complexity but minimalism. Cortex, shout out to Dan Coe, is the same thing. Instead of Notion, you could use Cortex as a content creator for your knowledge management, and it's like Meld Studio. I did.
Why don't you just put it in the chat?
I already did. I can't.
If you did it, I thought I saw you in the chat for a second.
I opened up a new tab and went on to YouTube.
Oh my goodness. Let's take a look. How long have you been using this? Ooh,
I've
the
only
second
played
brain
around
for
with it.
creators.
Yeah. I've only played around with it a little bit, but it allows you to capture your ideas and try to link those your ideas and tweets and podcasts and articles. All these different. It's kind of like the modular degree, but a little less expansive as I wanted. But it allows you to take that input and quickly turn it into an output by bringing things together, which is what a lot of people use Obsidian for, because Obsidian has bi-directional linking, and so Cortex came out to be kind of that alternative to Notion or Obsidian.
Tell me more. You're talking about input outputs. Tell me more. Break it down for me.
So go to Capture on the top left.
You know I'm just watching a video of this thing.
Oh, then let me log in. Sorry. Hey.
See, what are we talking about on pricing on here?
What are we talking about with this?
Let's see.
So,
free, limited.
Yeah.
Custom elements, 20 or 50. So I need to know what elements are. Import
Yeah.
readwise. Members. Okay, I'll sign up.
I'm not 100% sure about the pricing, but yeah.
Let's
All
see.
right, let me share.
You sharing?
Mm-hmm.
Switch over.
Yeah, Erica, I was on the chat 'cause I went to a new tab. Okay, girl. So as you can see, I tried to import my PIOS here. I'm still working on that part of it, but essentially you have your capture, so you have different ideas, so different like, okay, let's work on doing listicles every week, and so I can keep the idea there. And then you have your library stuff, so it could be like books, websites, or other. I think they need to make this a little bit better, a little bit easier to do. I think I saw somewhere it could be also like tweets or podcasts and stuff like that. But as you can see, I added this one website here, and so you have different authors and different highlights. So I think your Readwise highlights would also appear here, and you can take all these different stuff. And then I'm trying to think about how to go about it because I haven't played with it too much. But if I want to make a new note, test, I clicked off sources. Here's that book source, and so now I can reference that source while I'm writing the script for a video. And so you can also bring up other highlights from that website, for example, too, right here. If you're talking, you're muted, by the way.
No, I was doing Okay.
So elements. What is elements? I guess elements are maybe like things you can reference into multiple places. So like a block that could be partials everywhere.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like a relational relationship, like a lightweight relationship database or something. Okay.
And you can have multiple layers of abstraction, which is why I kind of like it too, like Notion. But I definitely feel like it would take a moment to flesh out. But I definitely would like to make a template for this too down the line for the PIOS.
The problem with Notion, I mean, there's tons of problems with Notion, but the problem with Notion is a lot of times if you're brand new, number one, if you when people are like, oh, you can build anything, it's the same way when people try to use Bubble or something like that.
Or OBS.
When you can, yeah, exactly. I see, now you're getting it. Now that's what I'm talking about. It's too much. So if it's more lean, that is going to be the key for adoption. And what I get irritated with is some companies or brands get irritated like it's the user's fault for why people aren't adopting it, versus I'm like, it's too broad. I believe one of the things that ChatGPT did so right was it was so stupidly easy, and it was in an interface that people were familiar with, like Google search, and that's why the adoption went so much higher than DALL-E 2, OpenAI with the API. It's easy. It's less things you can do, but easier to do.
TikTok.
What you got? Oh,
makes it easier. That's why TikTok blew up over the last 5 years, because it was an easy approach to video production. And so it popularized the short form video. Vine had been around, yes, but Vine had too many restrictions, and then they also weren't taking care of their creators, and it was also made in an age where social media was still budding. TikTok, formerly Musical.ly, came out at a time where people were used to making content, they were used to videos being on social media, and it came out with the same restriction of being like 15 seconds like Vine was. However, it was vertical, so you had a little bit more screen real estate to work with, and it was a much more easy accessible interface. So you just slid through, and it learned what you like, and it catered to you what you liked. And eventually, as more and more features came on, you got to do stitches and green screens and duets and have all these different options when you're creating content, and it made it easier, all in a very like easy to understand interface.
Yeah. No, I agree. This Cortex, I've got to go through these hoops to get access to it.
Yeah, I reached out to them because I was like, I'm gonna try to make some more content around it because it's very prudent to my niche.
Create a new post, get early access. This is a lot. All right, I'll do it. I'll go through this. It's almost time for Chat's second birthday. In the world, I don't even know what that means. Does that, because it's been more than 2 hours? I don't know what any of those things mean, but I like it. Does that give you different notifications? How long we've been live? No idea. But thank you, Erica. I love it. I have no idea what that means, but YouTube's adding things all the time. Okay, so this is good. How do you feel with what we accomplished today and in creation, content creation?
Well, I batched 5 videos there, and I'm sure that we could probably do this again sometime. And one thing I want to talk about too, kind of talking about later on this week, if you guys are interested in having more Dustin and Doc time, Doc and Dustin, the brand
Mhm.
doctors. On Tuesday, we have a video that's going to be going out where we're talking about different things about branding and content creation. I wanted to talk to you about that, Doc, and we might as well do it on stream.
Let's do it.
I was kind of thinking about doing pseudo interviews of each other. Like one week we do you, the next week we do me, and then we go back to doing both of us together kind of thing. I don't know. I was just thinking about what we should do for that series to keep it interesting and also to make sure to like, hey, what are some of the patterns of what we're talking about to make it more worthwhile? So that's kind of what I was thinking about.
So you want to interview about you being a creator? What are we going to interview each other on?
I mean, I've already been on your shows, you've already been on my shows, and so we've already interviewed each other in the past. But I just wondered, since this is on the PolyTools channel, technically, it's about content creation. Maybe we could talk more about that. Maybe not so much interview is the right word, but we'll just do a deep dive into Doc, a deep dive into Dustin, that kind of thing.
I like it. I like it.
It forces us to get more personal, I guess. It's what I was kind of thinking
Yeah, I like
about our
that.
content creation world.
I like that. First of all, Erica mentioned it's ChatGPT's almost second birthday, which I did not know. It is just crazy how much the adoption is for AI and chat compared to any other things. Excuse me, and that's a whole other thing why I'm always talking about
Hold on. What are they using for this community?
what are they using for this community? I would probably assume it is
Circle?
Circle. If I'm already in Creator Wizard right there and all of these other communities, which I totally forgot I was in, they're using Circle, which is a whole other issue. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
I think Circle's one of the better ones. I just don't really know exactly. It's probably better than using Discord. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
can you put
I
this in the
agree.
chat? This is the first Brand Doctor video that we did together,
Yeah,
and
cool,
Erica was wanting more about that. So, I need
cool.
to make a playlist. I might eventually make a podcast of it too.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Also, to this week, and this is, I mean, everyone that's in the group and everything already knows this. Um, all of my resources. Basically,
What
it's a
is with your
breakdown of
favorites? Oh my god, how many
what do you
favorites
say?
do you
What do you
have?
say,
Oh
bro?
crap!
No, check out.
You gotta
Are
organize
you
your
serious?
structure, man. Look at this information
Yeah,
architecture
my
nightmare,
wife
man.
does not like this at all. She's like, "Why do
Oh,
you
come
do
on.
this?"
Bro,
No,
consult with me. Have me on
no,
one day and we'll
no.
organize your shit. Sorry,
I
language.
my
We'll organize
stuff.
your stuff
Yeah,
together.
don't stop trying to
Sorry.
decrease my monetization on my stuff. The second of
That
all,
came out. Sorry.
um, it's totally fine the way I organize things. And I don't need help. Thank you. It's my. This is what I tell Brenda. It's my workspace. I can do whatever I want. I can do anything I want on Notion that I feel like it.
But see, Doc, I care about your efficiency and I want to make sure you be able to put out more stuff.
Look,
And by
I
having
can put out.
a complex
Yep.
mess, it messes with your ability to properly find the information that you want to find.
Not at all. Not when I'm switching over to this after I get through this stupid circle jumping through hoops. I just want to use this
I think it's
product.
because they're really like in alpha or beta right now, so it's just really early on. Just keep that
Can
in
you
mind.
just get me an invite? Can you just tell them to just send me an invite and stop going through this foolishness? Oh
I
my
wonder if I can
goodness.
if I have an invite code myself or something like
Yeah,
that.
check if they have an invite code. So we're gonna be doing that right after we get off this stream. Guess what? I'm about to do another live stream.
Back to back today for you, huh?
I'm doing a live stream about like cursor alternatives and everything like that. So looking at a couple things that we're onboarding right now. So again, I appreciate you being here, and hopefully, if anyone liked this stream, make sure that you like and subscribe. Check out Dustin on all of his channels. Check out the new podcast that we're together, or videos on that channel. Well, it might be a podcast. And then also too, if you have more questions on creating content in 2025, looking at what we're doing, if you want to see a session of us creating, I mean, also too, I mean, I didn't mention this, but also I have a thumbnail guy. I'm testing like having a vidIQ coach, a mastermind, and like two other things to just see Spotter Studio to see like what is actually helping to convert, if people care about that, or maybe we'll do a comparison in a couple months. But it's been fascinating to see what's working and what's not working from hiring professionals and everything like that. Let's say nothing on Black Friday sales? That's a great question. I might do a stream
on sale for Black Friday at this point.
What you said?
I can't even think of any tools that are on sale right now.
No.
Actually, I think you one. Affinity Serif. If you don't want to pay for the Adobe Suite every month for the rest of your life, eternal, you can get a one-time payment tool like Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer, which is an alternative to Photoshop or Illustrator by Adobe. However, I want to preface this: they did get bought out by Canva, and I don't know if that would lead to any issues down the line. But
did they really?
Canva bought off Affinity, yeah.
When?
Earlier this year.
I did not know that.
But it seems like nothing's happened, so it should be fine. But I paid, instead of paying $50 for the software, I paid $25 for each one, and that made a big difference.
Send it to me.
Yeah,
I might. I love to see it. I might do a stream on Friday talking about all my Black Friday stuff. But I really am trying to cut down on how many things I buy. I really am, even though I'm probably going to do like an AppSumo Black Friday thing. But we'll see what happens. If people want a Black Friday stream and everything, we might do it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, Dustin, before we go, where can the good people find you at?
There are two places. Well, first off, if you want to find me on any social media platform, @PolyInnovator is the way to go. You can also do polyinnovator.space, which is the website where you can also find the links or any of my YouTube channels or any of the blogs. And then finally, if you're interested in tools and learning how to be a modern content creator, polytools.blog is the site for you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next stream. And for some of you, it might be in the next 20 minutes, but others, we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye.